Yes! Oh, man. It's Friday night, and I get to come here and I get to talk football. I'm really, really excited about this. Man, I've been looking forward to this all week. I had a good show Tuesday. If you missed it, I had a special guest. One of my longtime subscribers, One Pride 40, came in, did a fantastic job. We broke down the power rankings. He was extremely gracious, even though I kind of busted his balls a little bit because, we did disagree on things. One Pride, what is up, man? By the way, A+ job on the show. A+ job Tuesday. I didn't go over my midseason rankings my midseason awards. I wanted to do that to start off the show, but instead, now that I got my first comment here, Perry, I'm feeling a lot better. I got coffee and I got 2 things of bottled water. After I ran out of water, I kind of ran out of gas. It's been over 3 weeks. I still have this chest thing, but I feel pretty good. I got a little bit of a sore throat, but overall I feel good. Oh, dude, I can't thank you enough, because the whole point of creating this YouTube channel was I want to get people. I would love to get fans from all 32 fan bases to kind of, send me DMs, join the show, and tell me what you think about your team, because I'm a Chiefs fan, but I don't want this to be a Chiefs channel. I forgot to shut off my phone. I want to talk football 32 fan bases, and I want to get the inside information. I want to know what you guys think. But I'm going to start off the show. There's a skit. I'm assuming most of you have seen the show The Office. So later in the show, when Steve Carell left, the show just went downhill. But there was an episode where Creed takes over as manager, and as Pam says, "Hey, look at these 2 pictures, and corporate wants you to see if you can find the differences." And he goes, "Oh, I think I found one already." And Pam goes to the camera and she says, "They're the same picture." And so I'm going to show you 2 pictures today. I'm going to show you 2 pictures here. And I thought I had this ready to go. I apologize. I thought this was already dropped the ball here early on. You guys are going to think that these are the same pictures. Okay. I know what you're thinking, that you're going to look at the same picture. And but they're not. They're 2 separate pictures. And I had this set up originally, and here we go. I'm going to show you right now. You taking Bears and Panthers? They are the same. Close. Because I'm gonna warn you, One Pride. You're not going to be able to see the difference. You're not going to be able to see the difference. Pay attention, because the difference in these pictures are really, really minor and really, really small. I'm going to show you a picture here. Painful memory for Chiefs fans. Patrick Mahomes hugging Brady after the Super Bowl loss. CJ Stroud. This is after the Georgia game. If you're not aware of what happened here, I believe the score was 42-40, may have been 42-41. CJ Stroud was the best player on the field, easily the best player on the field. Less than 2 minutes left in the game, he drives him downfield, and the kicker misses the field goal wide left. And so Georgia wins national championship. Jalen Carter is to his left. I don't know who the guy is to his right, but here's CJ Stroud. Talk about Jalen Carter, another Georgia Bulldog. Now I'm going to show you another picture, and I know what you're going to say. I already know what you're going to say. You're going to say, "Dan, it's the same thing," but it's not. It's not. Look and see if you can see the subtle minor differences. Now, the picture on the right is Caleb Williams about 10 to 15 minutes after the loss to Utah. And it's kind of hard to see. It's kind of hard to see. He's sitting there by himself. And then the picture on the left is him crying to his mommy after losing to the University of Washington. Now let's go back and look at the first picture. Okay, you got Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, CJ Stroud, Jalen Carter, and another Georgia Bulldog right here. Now let's take a look at Caleb Williams. Okay, now it's hard to see the difference. It's hard to see the difference, but you see, you got Caleb Williams crying to mommy, his dad over here to the side, and then you got Caleb Williams by himself. Now let's go back to the first picture. It's hard to see the difference. It's hard to see the difference, but you got Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady embracing after Mahomes loses the Super Bowl. CJ Stroud, probably going to be my rookie of the year, giving congratulations. And let's take a look at Caleb Williams. Crying to mommy and sulking 15 minutes after the game. It's hard to see the difference. So, look, I'm a Chiefs fan. Most people consider Patrick Mahomes, it only that truly loves Williams. I'm a Chiefs fan. Okay, but most people consider Patrick Mahomes the best quarterback in the NFL. Most people. If you don't, if you think it's Burrow or Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, great. Universally, most people consider Mahomes the best quarterback on the planet. Most people consider CJ Stroud the best rookie quarterback. And you see what they're doing after the game. Now, let's take a look at Caleb Williams after a game. Can you spot the minor differences? It's hard to see. It's really hard to see the minor differences. Caleb Williams, this was about 10 to 15 minutes after the game. His team left, Utah left. And then this is the game where he lost to University of Washington. He's crying to mommy. It's hard to see the difference. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Perry says, I think Williams is not ready for the NFL. I think Williams is another coming of Murray. It's funny. What I've been telling people is that he's not as good of a prospect as Marcus Mariota was coming out. Marcus Mariota was bigger. Marcus Mariota was bigger. I think Marcus Mariota was more mature. Marcus Mariota, I think, had a better rapport with his teammates. I don't know that. I heard that Caleb Williams, when he left for USC, he took a bunch of people with him, and that he was extremely well liked and extremely popular with his teammates. But I don't know. But I wouldn't call him Kyler Murray. I think he's more like Marcus Mariota, except I think Mariota's a better prospect coming out than Caleb Williams was. A lot of people remember it was Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota, and a lot of people had him going 1-2, and a lot of people liked Marcus Mariota because there was no red flags of Mariota. Remember, you had the rape incident, which I will stand by was complete bullshit. You're not going to tell me Jameis Winston, the guy at Florida State, needs to rape somebody at Florida State. That's bullshit. I'm sorry. I know Me Too and all that other bullshit, but listen, that's a bullshit story. The crab legs. So there's a lot. There was none of that with Mariota. But Mariota was a better prospect than Caleb Williams. Some idiot tried posting that if Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, and Caleb Williams were all coming out in the same draft, Williams would go number one, and that's 100% bullshit. Slasher, welcome, brother. Hurts is definitely not the best quarterback in the NFL, no matter what anybody says, but he is really damn good. You know what? Actually, to tell you the truth, I'm going to bring this up again because I only showed you two pictures. This was the first one. Was Jalen Hurts. This was after Jalen Hurts got benched for Tua in the national championship game. Guess who's the first one out there? And then I got those. So his teammate. By the way, one pride. I talked to Keys earlier today. We texted. Normally don't show that logo, but I got like cinnamon stuck to the side. He's going to join us Tuesday. So you're going to get DP'd by two guys. And everybody's dreams to have a threesome with two guys. So I know, so special treat for you Tuesday. It's weird to say that Caleb Williams would do good in Chicago, especially they ended up grabbing Fasten or all their second first round pick to lock up their tackle spot. You know what? I'm going to okay, Perry, 100% correct. 100% correct. Somebody came out on Instagram, ended up following him, and he had a great mock draft, and he got ripped apart by it because the way he did is he had Arizona picking 1, Chicago 2 and 3. And by the way, of course it's going to be me in the middle. Of course. Actually, it's you. But we'll see. We'll see. He got ripped apart because he had Arizona at 1 taking Marvin Harrison Jr. And people, all the comments were negative. And I'm like, you know what? This kind of makes sense. And because he kept on responding the same thing. He's like, this is second coming of Larry Fitzgerald. You're not going to move Murray because of his contract. So taking Marvin Harrison Jr. at number 1 makes a lot of sense. And then he had Caleb Williams at 2. And then he had Fassanu at 3. And I had multiple things I disagreed with this mock draft, but I don't do a mock draft after the combine. So I don't criticize people, but if you have one I don't like, then I don't really comment on it. You know, I don't trash people for you know, I don't sit here and trash you if you don't have a mock draft I don't like because I don't have one yet. But he had Caleb Williams at 2, Fassano at 3. Now, I think this could easily happen because Chicago has to figure out what to do with Justin Fields, and I really think they're going to try to move him. Now, I got a theory that I think the perfect team for Justin Fields would be the Giants. And I think the Giants could get him for the same pick, relatively same compensation that Dallas got Trey Smith. That's a 4th round draft pick. The difference is Dallas gave up a late 4th where New York would give up an early 4th. So that's what we're looking at. Denver Gator, just in case you didn't see it, I'm going to show you some pictures here. And I want to see if you can see the minor differences. I know you were crushed by this. You hated this. It's Patrick Mahomes after the Super Bowl. CJ Stroud after losing the national championship. And then we got Caleb Williams. So this mock draft, but here's the deal. If I'm a Lions fan, I'm begging for Aiden Hutchinson. If Caleb Williams goes to Chicago, I'm begging for Aiden Hutchinson to point in the stands and yell at him, go see your mommy, bitch. I'm going to tell you something. I don't think he would do it good in Chicago, and I'll tell you why. He probably would have a harder time than Philly than Chicago, but Chicago's not an easygoing sports town. I mean, Green Bay, I could see it. Kansas City, I can see it. But Chicago? What would happen the first time Luke gets his ass kicked by the Lions by 30 points? And the Lions, I mean, I've been giving Lions fans some grief here, but I mean, going into the next couple of years, I mean, they're a team on the rise. I can't say that about Chicago, but and by the way, that's exactly what I would do. I'd get your quarterback, then I would get your left tackle. But how would Caleb Williams do in a rough sports town? I mean, what's he going to do when he loses? I mean, seriously, what would Chicago be with Caleb Williams as their quarterback? Year 1. I'm thinking maximum 7 wins. And by the way, DJ Moore is an excellent receiver. I'm very high on Cole Kmet. They got Darnell Mooney, a guy I really like. They got the other guy. I'm drawing a blank on his name. A 4th round pick out of Cincinnati, track guy. But he ran a 4.4 at the combine. But he's really a guy that they were talking about running. He could run a 4.2. So they got speed. They got DJ Moore. Now you got your pass rusher. You got some young defensive tackles. You spent a lot of money. You spent $100 million on linebackers, and you got some young pieces in the secondary. Rookie left tackle, rookie quarterback, year 1, I'm looking at 7 wins. How's he going to handle that? How's he going to handle that? I listen, I hate doing this because I hate hyperbole, but Marvin Harrison is the best wide receiver prospect to ever come out of college. Randy Moss had tons of red flags. Calvin Johnson had red flags. Keyshawn Johnson didn't really have red flags, but he was not a speed guy. He was a big physical receiver. He had great hands. Run after a catch ability. A lot of people liked Keyshawn Johnson, who went number 1 overall. But he didn't have deep speed. Marvin Harrison has deep speed. And he has, by the way, I saw this on Instagram. They're saying Marvin Harrison's little brother, who's 14, is doing better than he is. So pay attention. In about 4 years, we're going to hear about Marvin's little brother, and he's probably going to be another first-round pick. I mean, we've got some time, though. I've been putting cinnamon in my coffee to try to help things out. That's why I'm showing you the logo. I normally don't do that. I think the Cards need wide receiver or O-line with their – so what they did last year, remember they traded up with the Lions, and they got Paris Johnson, so you got the left tackle. I forget who they have at the right tackle position, but I mean, if you're picking number 1, I think I don't think you trade it. I just think you take Harrison, and that's if you pick number 1. Kyler Murray's going to play this week. I'm going to talk about that because I got all the games. I'm going to give you the original point spread, and then I'm going to give you how it's changed, and I'm going to give you an idea of what the betting public thinks. With over-unders, there's no real changes. But I'll go over all those with you in case anybody's putting some action down. But if I'm Arizona, I'm picking number 1 overall. I'm probably going Marvin Harrison Jr. I just take the receiver and I go with Kyler Murray. By the way, don't forget the Cardinals get an extra 3rd. I think it's 3rd, 5th, and either 6th or 7th. They got a ton of draft capital. They can get very creative in this draft. I don't know, man. I think Fields' time's up. I think so too. And that's, by the way, I think that the New York Giants, remember the Giants get a 2nd and a 5th from Seattle for the Dexter Lawrence trade. If I'm the Giants, I say, look, if you're going to draft a quarterback, we'll give you our 4th. Now, it's going to be a high 4th round draft pick where Dallas gave you a low 4th round draft pick. So even though you're going to hear the word 4th round draft pick, there's going to be about 20 to 30 draft spots difference in that. So it's going to be essentially, it's going to be a high 4th round draft pick versus a low 4th round draft pick. So it's going to be a big difference. I mean, you could honestly easily ship that into a 3rd round pick. If I'm the Giants, I would not give up a high 3rd, but I would give up a high 4th easily because you got Daniel Jones under contract. You have Tyrod Taylor. Why not bring in Justin Fields and see who's the best? Why not? Because the Giants are going to pick very high in this draft. They're going to pick really high in this draft. Do you really want to go quarterback? You got to be sold, because here's the deal. You probably got to trade up. I would rather roll the dice with Fields and fix the rest of that team up. Remember, Andrew Thomas is going to come back. Is Evan Neal, is that just a bust? Because if it is, get rid of him now. Move him inside. He played guard at Alabama. Move him inside if you have to. I think Dable could develop Fields. Will take a few. I think so too. And I think he's got more talent than Daniel Jones. That's kind of why I like it. And it would be tough. It would be tough because he would have to do it. The trade would probably happen. The trade would probably happen in March, so you have to get him in, and you have to nail him with OTAs. So you're right about that, man. Looks like the most get that football is a team and even a brotherhood. Some look selfish by talking about. Hey, dude, Denver Gator, you nailed it. And that's why I think Caleb Williams is going to be a bust in the NFL. I think he's going to be a complete bust. And I'm telling you this right now, he's not as good as Marcus Mariota was coming out of college. He's really not. Marcus Mariota's riding the bench. He's riding the bench for a good reason. And I like Marcus Mariota. I like Marcus Mariota. I just didn't think he's a really good NFL prospect, and I didn't think he would have a lot of success in the NFL. I really didn't. I kind of don't want to go on and on about trashing Marcus Mariota because I really like the kid. But yeah. The Bear GM was smart with his draft picks. The Bears would be trading for more draft capital, fix more holes with rookie contracts. I mean, I get that because you don't have a second round pick. But if I'm Chicago, I move Fields. Right, you get another draft pick there. You addressed your pass rush. Now they're going to make some moves in free agency also, but I would go quarterback, left tackle. That's what I would do. And then with those other draft picks that you have now, you'll probably have. I'm thinking you're going to get 4. So yeah, I've been putting honey in my coffee, man. I'm not kidding, Dan. These 2 guys coming out of the draft at tackle have their chance to be better than a lot of guys already established in the NFL. I think I'm watching. So I watched Fassanu against Penn State, and I was expecting to see something ungodly good like Orlando Pace was or Jonathan Ogden. I didn't see that. I'm hearing Alt is better also. I haven't had a chance to watch him. But John Alt, his dad, was a longtime left tackle in Kansas City and was awesome. He was just awesome. Longtime left tackle in Kansas City. Really just beloved in Kansas City. And usually when you see players like this, they're usually a little better. But I really do. I think that these 2. There's another left tackle people are thinking are going to go top 10 as well. And I'm drawing a blank on who it is, but. Whoever you have rated higher, Fassanu or Alt, it doesn't really matter. You take the guy that you think's better. I after watching Fassanu, I didn't see the eliteness I saw. I watched Orlando Pace, and I'm like, yeah, that's you're good. Fassanu looked good. He did get beat for a sack by an Ohio State defensive lineman who I think is a sophomore who's probably going to go top 5 or top 10, like easily first round draft pick. And everybody gets beat. But except for that, I mean, he played good, but I didn't see the Orlando Pace eliteness that I was expecting. But I'm hearing Alt's better. I need to watch more. Trenches win games. It's been proven by the Eagles before. If you keep Caleb in a good spot, he won't go crying, talking about how he wants to cuddle his dog. Yeah, and that's why you take the left tackle. But I mean, dude, this is a tough sport. Chicago's a tough sports town. So is Philly. California kid coming into an NFL locker room. I didn't watch the whole thing, but the Johnny Manziel documentary. He talks about when he went to Cleveland. He goes, the locker room was always my sanctuary. I got along great with my high school teammates. Guys at Texas A&M, we Texas A&M, we hung out together, and I get to an NFL locker room, it just wasn't the same. And it's like, no shit, because they all thought that you're an entitled, spoiled little bitch. You didn't want to work. But I think Caleb Williams, who gets along really well with his teammates and's probably loved at USC, he could go somewhere like Chicago, and I could see him having the same type of problem. Chicago's a tough place, man. I mean, he's got to grow some thicker skin, and especially if he goes to a place like Chicago. Now, I think Green Bay could be interested in drafting a quarterback. And Green Bay, I think, would be a much better spot for him than Chicago. But Chicago, it makes a lot of sense for me to have Chicago go left tackle, quarterback. But I'm after watching the way he sulked after losses, if I'm Chicago, I'm like, no, I don't know. And by the way, if they like Justin Fields, you get your left tackle and then you trade. I thought I said Leonard Williams. Him and Joe Alt, or yeah. I'm going to have to pay. I haven't watched Joe Alt play at all. I think the Cards need to build the team and let Mary contract the run out or get a vet or a rookie quarterback. Well, they got that rookie quarterback that they want to run with before he had that concussion. I Or no, I'm sorry. The Minnesota kid had the concussion. I actually have no idea how Clayton Hume played. So they got that rookie. But what they're going to do is they got a ton of draft capital. I mean, they just have an insane amount of draft capital. And what they're going to do is they're going to build a team around Kyler Murray this offseason. So if the Lions draft a DT inside Jalen Johnson, watch out. It's going to be interesting, but let's just say Detroit picks. Let's just call it 24. Let's just have some fun and say 24. I think that'd be a good spot for a defensive tackle. What's it? I can't remember the guy's name in Pittsburgh. Back then, they love that kid, and Maisie Smith. They really like him in Dallas. Those are. I think the Pittsburgh defensive tackle was chosen in the second round. I'm gonna have to double check. But you can get a guy like that, yeah. And I have no idea what the situation is with McNeil, but he's a guy that you either have to sign this offseason, or I have to check out his contract situation, because I think he's a guy that if his contract's not up this offseason, he may want to hold out anyway. I have to look at that, but that's something that you got to sign that guy, and then get another guy on your defensive line makes a lot of sense. And let's just call it 24. That's a perfect spot, because you're gonna have you're gonna have a lot of front end talent. You got a couple left tackles we've already talked about. We got a couple receivers. We got a lot of quarterbacks. So I think the Lions could just sit pat. As you know, we're gonna do a lot of talk about the draft. It wouldn't surprise me if the Lions trade out of round 1 completely and just try to stockpile draft picks either. I agree. I 100% agree. Fields needs a fresh start. I think the Giants would be a perfect team. On Brian Dable, I just, I give Daniel Jones the cold shoulder, and that's what I do. That 1,000% will not happen. The Raiders love Max Crosby. But, yeah, I get it. But I also agree with you one Friday. He looked much better in the Chiefs uniform. Perry, the issue with the Bears is they don't want to keep their homegrown talent. I never understood letting Roquan Smith walk. They let Roquan walk and have Johnson walk, and then they let Monty walk. I remember it was brain freeze. A couple years ago, he set a Bears sack record. They got him in free agency, and then they traded him for a 4th-round draft pick. So the tackles, yeah, the Bama left tackle. And I'm going to watch a lot of these guys. The last 2 left tackles out of Bama, though, Alex Leatherwood, I don't even think's playing. And then you got Evan Neal, who's been disastrous so far. So they got a defensive end who I think's a sophomore who's going to be really, really, really good. The issue is he's more worried about drinking. Manziel was the rich kid with talent. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So if you're asking me, is this going to hurt his draft stock? I don't think so. Yeah. Excuse me. Do I think that this situation is going to hurt Caleb Williams' draft stock? I'm not sure, because Washington he's from DC, and Washington has an extra 2nd and 3rd round draft pick. I personally think that Washington will make a big move to try to get Caleb Williams, and a Washington-Chicago trade makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. We'll have to wait and see how the draft pans out. But if you had to tell me, Dan, where does Caleb Williams end up? I think he ends up in Washington, and I think Washington is going to make a massive trade to get up to a point where they can get Caleb Williams. I think Washington, and there could be a couple other teams. Green Bay has some extra draft capital. The Giants have some extra draft capital. It'll be very interesting to see. But yeah, I didn't watch the whole thing. I didn't like the way that, I mean, I get it. You can't make a Netflix special about a kid and then trash the kid, but they did too much to make him sound like he was this really great guy. And it's like, no, you were given the American dream on a silver platter, and you just shit on it because you wanted to party. I don't respect that. I mean, I hope that what he's doing in life now is a good thing, but it doesn't look like it is. I do like the fact that I really like the fact that he shows up to all the Heisman ceremonies. Like this year, you'll see Johnny Manziel there, and I think that's smart. And if I'm him, I try to affiliate myself with as much as Texas A&M. I don't know if you guys remember another name for you. Oh, I can't remember. Vince Young. So Vince Young actually was like an ambassador for the University of Texas, and he had DUI, and the University of Texas had to cut ties with him. But he should do something like that. So. Cansey, no. I'm talking about this year's draft. Cansey was 19. And that wasn't the guy I was talking about, but a guy like Cansey that would, I mean, Cansey was 19, and I think Detroit's not going to pick 19th. I think they're going to pick later. I'm picking 24. But if a guy like Cansey with that type of talent, I don't think there's a defensive tackle with Cansey's talent in this draft. But yeah, I mean, we're on the same page. I think you need to have to. I think loading. If I'm the Detroit Lions, I load up on your defensive line. I load up because you got up and coming star in Hutchinson. You have McNeil, who's a really good player. Get a couple guys. And here's the deal: you don't need superstars, but if you can get like average to above average players, then yeah. I know he was last year, but he was 19, not 24. That's what I'm saying. Where you're picking at 24, you can get a good guy. I think we let Levi go, or should they be overly patient with him? You have to answer that question. I really liked him coming out of the draft. I really wanted him in Kansas City because of the scheme that Kansas City runs. I thought he would be perfect. Now, Kansas City is kind of switching to like a hybrid 3, and that's something a lot of other teams are doing. And with his injury history, you have to tell me like I don't know. I have no idea. Like, is it all injuries? Is there problems with his work ethic, personality? But I mean, more than likely, he's just a guy that's just not cut out for the NFL. That's kind of my impression. If I'm the Lions, I do move on because you're in a position that you're ascending. You got some young talent on that team. You got your quarterback. You have your offensive line. And I mean, you just got to build. And you got a guy who's not part of the answer in Ozarike. Move on. And let's just say you pick at 24th. You're going to have an opportunity. Looking at last year's draft, you're going to get a guy at 24 who can add to your team, just like Pittsburgh and Dallas did. Check out Mike Hole or Tylenol Williams from OSU. I will check. DM me both those guys. Here's the deal. I just started looking at mock drafts. And I just also been watching a little bit of college football. I'm going to watch more and more of it. But right after the Super Bowl, I'm probably going to stay live Tuesday and Wednesday. But the mock drafts are going to come right after the combine. So I had a friend on my football fan obsessed. Obsessed with Johnny Football. He was a lot of fun to watch. I wasn't sure how his game would translate to the NFL, but he was a lot of fun to watch in college. There has been so many players over the years I watched in college football that I absolutely loved and was so bummed out that the game didn't translate to the NFL. So Kayvon T fell because he rubbed the gas and the scouts the wrong way. He didn't fall that far. He was picked 5th. And I still think he could be a really good player. I know Kancey was last year. He went 19th, and I don't think Detroit's going to pick 19th. And there are a few. Yeah. I think if you pick, I'm saying you're going to pick at 24, okay? You're going to be able to get a defensive tackle at 24. Speaking of Kancey, how he's doing as a rookie, I think he's doing decent. The only issue is Tampa's lost 4 in a row, and that loss against Houston was a tough one. I think last week we talked about it. I didn't touch base on it, and I'm sorry about that. But I think there's several teams that are going to get new head coaches, and I'm almost convinced Tampa's one of them. And then if you're Tampa, you got to get a quarterback, and they're going to have to make a move. They're probably going to have to trade up, but they got some really good young pieces on defense. This year, both linebackers asked to be traded, and this year you might have to trade one or the other. But Tampa Bay is a team I think could really kind of hit the self-destruct button. I really believe that Tampa Bay is just going to kind of blow their team up. So, defensive tackle, defensive line, O-line need to be the picks for us. I mean, we're going to have to find out. I mean, you may lose some players in free agency. Like I said, I'm using pick number 24. It wouldn't surprise me if the Lions trade out of the first round and just try to stockpile draft picks. That's been a John Dorsey staple, and I know Dorsey's not general manager, but that's just the way Dorsey runs things. And so far the Lions have run themselves like a John Dorsey run team. So. That's kind of the way. I mean, is there a team that you can trade them to and get like a 7th? That's what I would do. DM me some of these guys, and I can start watching film on them. I'm not really going to get hardcore into the draft, but until after the combine, I'm going to watch, the all-star games. I have a plan. Probably what I'm going to do is this year, I'm going to show you guys how I break down the teams after the Super Bowl. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how I break down the teams. It's a very simple system. I just go plus minus. And I'll just show you guys how I see each team and try to get some feedback from you guys on how good these teams are or are not. So, but that's something that, I mean, God, this is a great season so far. I mean, this is just a fantastic season we have going on right now. So I'm just going to, kind of enjoy this. But after the season's over, I'm probably going to stay live both Tuesday and Friday. I'm going to try to get some guests on. I'm going to try to do a lot of draft content, but more than likely after the combine, I'll do a Monday draft, a Monday mock draft release. And then the way things are set up now, I plan on doing the draft live and then doing a Wednesday right before the draft, a final live mock draft. I may do it Tuesday. We'll have to wait and see. Injuries are what hurt us. Pascal needs to stay healthy and start developing fast. Year 3 for him is next year. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of a red shirt year for him last year. He got hurt this year. I like the guy, but yeah, you got to stay healthy. Oh, high school football team. Yeah. There was a lot of people. There was this one girl I worked with, and I said that Colin Klein, the Kansas State quarterback should be a Heisman favorite, and she loved Johnny. It was kind of weird because I didn't even know she was a football fan, but she really liked Johnny Manziel. I think it was just more she wanted to argue with me. She was kind of that type of person, you know. You have those coworkers, you know, just want to argue just for sake. That's kind of what I think. But she liked Johnny Manziel. It was kind of weird. He had the talent to go. He did. He really did. That's going to be an interesting name. That's going to be an interesting name. He's talking about Johnny Manziel. You need to do a Black Monday show when coaches get fired at the end of the season. I used to do a Black Monday video. More than likely, what I'll do is I'll probably have my to be honest with you, you know, I might do a Black Monday show. That's actually not a bad idea. Depending on how things go, I'm going to try to get a guest Tuesday right after the season. I've hit up George, who after the season's over, he's going to go over his pluses and minuses. I'm also, I haven't talked to him yet, but I'm kind of hoping I can get Luke G on once it's confirmed the Lions are going to be in the playoffs and talk about, hey, what to expect, what not to expect. But I might, you know what, I might go live Monday. That's actually not a bad idea to go live Monday and just do a live stream on Black Monday, because there are going to be several coaches, and I kind of want to rate the jobs and talk about which one is better. And one thing that's interesting is that a lot of people have been saying, especially here, the Chargers is the best job because you got your quarterback, but you have high expectations. So what's better? Year one, you have to go to the playoffs, or year one, we have to draft somebody and build. I mean, take a look at the Lions. You got the Lions got 3 wins year one. Okay. Then they turned it around year 2 and then year 3. So a team like the Chargers, if you take over the Chargers, you win 3 or 4 games year one, you're probably not going to get brought back the next year. So that's kind of something you got to think about. Like, if you're a first-time head coach and the expectations, because if whoever takes over the Chargers job, and I think that's going to be a job that's going to come up. Keep in mind, Chargers make the playoffs. Forget it. But I mean, I predict the Chargers are number 1 not going to the playoffs, and number 2 they're going to fire Staley. If whoever takes over that Chargers job is expected to go to the playoffs year 1, or you can go to a team like, let's just say, Chicago, where you can draft a quarterback, or you can keep Fields, and you're going to get a year to build up. So, yeah, Tampa Bay. I fully expect Bowles to get fired, and they're just going to have to do a lot of things. But I think you have to find a quarterback, whether it's draft, free agency, trade. You're going to have to do something. And then you have to figure out what to do, because you have some really, really good, expensive players on that defense. And both your linebackers asked for a trade. So, oh, that reminds me, Dan, if you have Black Monday show, you should have me on. Since you know what, man, DM me, and we can tag team Monday. I'm excited that me and you you and Keys are going to have a threesome on Tuesday. I'm really excited about the threesome. And I know you're excited, because who doesn't want to be DP'd by 2 guys? Who doesn't want to DP with 2 guys? So Keys is going to join, and I was hoping I'd see him in the comments. I actually did a surprise appearance on his show Wednesday, because I got a phone call, and I do want to share the story if I get a chance to, because it blew my mind. And it's funny, I was trying to call Bufa, because I can't give you the details. I was going to call him and tell him the details, but I got a story I'm dying to share with you guys. It's still early for me. I peeked at the highlights a bit and looked at the stats. Yeah, we're gonna give a lot. I'm gonna do a lot of stuff in the draft. Should Kansas City go all in for a left tackle or Harrison this year? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The reason why is that I think the Chiefs could trade up in the draft into the teens or maybe the 20s and get their tackle. I also think that the Chiefs might need. I mean, Chris Jones. There's his contract situation is kind of irky. There's also a lot of issues with the salary cap. We have. I mean, look, we got Creed Humphrey, maybe the best center in the NFL. We got Trey Smith, who's having a great year. PFF released something that he didn't give up a sack all year. That's bullshit. I know he's given up a sack or two. I'm almost positive he gave up one against the Lions. And then I know they had another game where he just got beat. I forget who it was, but PFF's garbage and another story for another day. We also got Nick Bolton, who's going to come up for a contract. And I keep in mind he's missed some time, so we may be able to put that one on ice. But yeah. Dan, do you need a sexy co-host? You know what? That's actually not a bad idea. Just DM me and we can work it out. But that's actually a great idea. I can do a Black Monday special and I can go on Tuesday. Yeah. Crappy owner who is cheap. Are you talking about Tampa Bay or LA? Todd Bowles is a great DC, just not. Yeah. Keys, I'm just glad you're here, man. I'm glad you're here. I am so glad you're here. The same story. It's funny because I really want to give specific details, but the person who told me a story told me, don't say this, don't say this, don't say this. And because of that, I can only give a few details. So I'm going to tell the same story. Don't mean anything really. Herbert and warm weather I mean, it just different people. Here's the deal. If you're a head coach, or better yet, the way it works is that the NFL right now, the trend is to hire offensive coordinators that have never been head coaches before. That's the trend. If you're a first-time offensive coordinator, do you want to take a job where you know you can keep that job for 2 or 3 years while you're building up the team? Or do you want to go somewhere where if you don't make the playoffs year one, you could be fired? And the Chargers, and I think I don't know if you meant this about I know for a fact this is LA. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you meant that about Tampa Bay. So I think Keys liked them, but he'll have to answer that. I'd rather Kansas City just trade and pay for trade. I would love that too. Keys, are you trading for Quinn and Williams? Do you think Mahomes would be a star? I actually do. I really do, because Marty. So one of the biggest issues about Marty with the Chargers is that Marty had Doug Flutie and they drafted Drew Brees. For those of you who don't know, the Chargers had the number 1 overall pick in the draft, and they were going to draft Mike Vick, but Marty said that trade down, get Tomlinson, and they worked out Drew Brees, and apparently they really liked Drew Brees better than Michael Vick. So Drew Brees had an elbow that he had that Tommy John surgery on his elbow, and Marty wanted to keep Drew Brees. Ownership got rid of him and brought in Phillip Rivers. And Marty with Phillip Rivers went 14-2, lost in the playoff game. Not Marty's fault. What happened is, if you watch the game, the Chargers are winning. Brady threw an interception late in the fourth quarter. The guy's running it back, and Troy Brown, who played receiver and corner, stripped the ball out of the Chargers defensive back's hands, and the Patriots recovered. and it's funny because there's a clip of Marty walking up to that player before the game going, listen, when you get that game-winning interception, just fall down, and he doesn't listen to Marty's advice. If he does listen to Marty's advice, they beat the Patriots and probably advance to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. Do I think Mahomes will be a star? Yes, I do. I do. I really do. I loved Marty Schottenheimer. Yeah. I thought you were talking about the Tampa Bay Bucks. It's actually not. Oh God! I'm gonna tell you this story here. I told this story on Key's show, and it was funny because they were talking. They're like, "What's wrong with Kadarius Toney?" And earlier in the day. So Keys, by the way, Keys is part of the Back Talk Brothers. Look at my channels. I follow. You see the Luke G show. If you're a Lions fan, you have to follow Luke G show. Back Talk Brothers. Keys is the star, and Keys agreed to come on Tuesday. And me and Keys are going to DP One Pride. It's going to be great. So Kadarius Toney goes over to the Missouri side, and I'm not going to give away the details, but there's more detail. There's a lot of details. There's a lot of specifics that I can tell you that I can validate that this is a true story, but I have to leave a lot of this stuff secret for my source. But Missouri, I think it was this summer, it became a state that is legal for marijuana. So Kadarius Toney goes into the store. Apparently, I think it's 85 grams is the maximum amount, which is like 3 ounces. And you can only buy it every 21 days, 3 weeks. Kadarius Toney goes and spends over $3,000 at this weed store like clockwork every 21 days. So on their show, they were like, "What's wrong with Kadarius Toney?" The motherfucker is spending over $1,000 a week on weed. That's what his damn problem is. And there's several details I can't reveal, but do I believe this story? Yes. Do I believe that? Look, lots of guys have a posse. Like he's probably got his agent. Like, I mean, I'm sure that he's not. Could he be smoking 3 ounces of weed in 3 weeks? Yes, that's definitely possible. But more than likely, it's probably for him and some other people. But the problem is with Kadarius Toney is the motherfucker's smoking over $1,000 a week in weed. And I heard that story and I jumped on the show because I heard it Wednesday afternoon. I'm like, guys, can you let me come on? And I told the story and I'm leaving out a lot of details. But yeah. The problem with Kadarius Toney, he smokes over $1,000 worth of weed a week. It was funny. I tried calling Boofa. Chad, what's up, bro? So, Chad, it was funny. I was trying to call Boofa. I was going to tell Boofa the story. I was going to tell you and Boofa the story about Kadarius Toney. And I can give you guys the details I can't tell you on the show. But, yeah. And it is not. So, here's the deal with the joke. My mom went into a pot shop, a head shop, whatever. It's called Seventh Heaven. I don't know if they got them out anywhere else, but anyway, she's walking around and she's like, "Danny, they have all these weird vases. They got these weird stems sticking out of them." And I'm just like, "Oh God, Mom." Yeah, Mom, they're weird vases. So yeah. Anna Lake said that Dexter Lawrence has been the best interior. Yeah, so here's the Giants said they gave Dexter Lawrence a lot of money. They let Leonard Williams go, and with that extra second round pick, are they going to use it on the quarterback, fix the offensive line? The Giants are going to be an interesting team come draft time because I think they got the pieces in play defensively because they got some young defensive backs. I mean, they're going to add some pieces defensively through free agency or the draft. I mean, they're not done. But with the extra, with what's going to be, it looks like a very high first round pick, a very high second round pick, and then Seattle's second round pick, you have enough trade capital that if they like one of these quarterbacks, you can get one. Personally, I think the better option would be, hey, look, I'm going to take Justin Fields. I can get Justin Fields probably for a fourth, because I'm using the Trey Lance trade as a precedent here. And with that fourth round pick, I would go into training camp and I'd say, listen, Justin Fields, Daniel Jones. Now Daniel Jones coming off an injury, and I say, look, best player is going to play. But if I'm Brian Dable, I do everything possible to get Justin Fields that starting job. And keep in mind, if you do this, that high first round draft pick, I haven't looked at the other wide receivers, but that's probably the direction I go if I'm the Giants. If I'm picking fifth, if I can't get Alt or Fasanu, and I'm guessing that Evan Neal, they're just gonna like, hey, this guy's a bust. Get your stud number one wide receiver. They need that. So you get your quarterback, get your wide receiver, and then you have 2 second round draft picks. Best player available. Giants got something. That's kind of what I'm thinking, because I love Dexter Lawrence. I really do. He's having a good year. I don't know if he's the best, but he is having a really good year. Washington's going to be a very attractive job, especially if you look at Sam Howell. But I think that what's going to happen is that Washington's going to say, look, we have an extra second round pick. We have an extra third round pick. We're going to have a high first round draft pick. And Washington's 4-5 right now. I think they're going to finish under 500, but I think that what they're going to do is, I think they're the team that I think is really going to circle Caleb Williams and say, look, we're going to have Sam Howell on the team. We're going to trade up for Caleb Williams. We'll start Sam Howell till Caleb Williams is ready. Or they may force Caleb Williams in there and then keep Sam Howell to back up. That's kind of what I think. By the way, man, thanks for the love, Chad. Man. I don't think Washington is that good for a rookie head coach. The pressure to win in Washington is high. New ownership wants to win. Fans do too. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what to think. I mean, if you trade all that draft capital for a guy like Caleb Williams, look at your team. I mean, you got some holes now on the defensive line. The secondary is so. The linebacking core I'm not overly impressed with. The offensive line's okay. I like their running backs. The receiving core isn't bad. But, I mean, if you trade a lot of draft capital to get a guy like Caleb Williams, the only way you take that job is if you look at Caleb Williams and you're like, I can make this work. But, I mean, and I really do. I think ownership's going to make a push to have the local kid come home, because it's going to sell a ton of jerseys. It's just going to sell a ton of jerseys. So I have no idea. But he said that he did tell me that mine was correct and yours was wrong. So, I mean, Josh Gordon. Yeah, Josh Gordon did. Yeah, I seriously, what's the problem with Kadarius Toney? The motherfucker's high all the time. If a Smith get fired, if Arthur Smith gets fired, do you think he goes back to Tennessee as offensive coordinator or head coach? I think that would be a great move. I've heard rumors that Vrabel is going. They're talking about like if Belichick gets fired, Vrabel would be the option. But I have no idea. But if I'm Tennessee, I would beg Arthur Smith to come back as the offensive coordinator. If Atlanta doesn't get to the playoff, Arthur Smith is gone. And if I'm Arthur Smith, I completely go back to Tennessee, because you get this young quarterback. You're going to have DeAndre Hopkins for a year. Yeah, you have some pieces on the offensive line. You got to fix some stuff, but the defense is world class. If I'm Tennessee, I overpay for Arthur Smith to come back as the offensive coordinator. Would I want him at head coach? I don't know. My guess is that The Vrabel going to New England, there would be some draft capital. It might be enticing. Back in the day, dude, yeah. It's expensive. He's not smoking the cheap stuff. I mean, he's getting the top of the line stuff. I think I can tell you that. I mean, he's getting the top of the line stuff, but I mean, when I found out, I was just like, holy shit. And I can't give out this information, but like part of it's a good thing. But as a Chiefs fan, it's a terrible thing. So I thought you were over in Canada. Weren't you Western Ontario? Is that correct? I know Michigan, it's legal. I went to Colorado last summer and it freaked me. It's funny. I go to Vegas and it's legal in Vegas. So it's kind of funny. It just became legal in Missouri. I live on the Kansas side, but I am like 5 miles from Missouri. I'm the state line is like 5-6 miles away. So I do something called Walmart Spark. I'm a Walmart Spark driver. No joke. I drove to a beat up duplex in Missouri to drop off some groceries. There was I'm going to say mother. With 4 babies, all in diapers, and she's sitting outside smoking a joint. I'm like, I know it's legal, but come on, man. It's like, Jesus Christ. Did you know Calvin Johnson is a weed? Seriously, it's a great business idea. I don't know if Calvin Johnson smokes weed or not. I do know this. Tamba Ali, former Chief, one of my all-time favorite Chiefs players, he was an advocate. I don't know if it was marijuana or CBD, but he got a 2-game suspension for taking either CBD or marijuana. And what he said is he was very public. He goes, look, instead of taking these highly addictive pain pills, I want to use marijuana for my injuries. Now, Tamba Ali was building hospitals in his home country of Haiti. The motherfucker's building hospitals. So him smoking some weed versus Kadarius Toney smoking some weed, I think are night and day types of situations. I don't think Kadarius Toney's building some motherfucking hospitals. If you're building hospitals and then you want to go ahead and smoke a joint, I have zero problem with that. If you're Kadarius Toney and you're smoking over $1,000 worth of weed a week, and you should be a rising star in this offense, and you're dropping passes and you're only getting 1-2 touches a game, lay off the fucking weed. As far as Calvin Johnson, I think it's an excellent business opportunity. I don't know if he's a pot smoker or not. Danu makes a tag and trade for CJ 95 in the offseason. The number one team that comes to mind, and it'll never happen, would be the Raiders. I don't think the Chiefs would trade in the division. I would tell you Houston, but they're giving up a 1 and a 3, so they don't have the trade capital. That makes a lot of sense. It would be interesting because the first 2 teams that come to mind would be the Raiders and Texans. And I think the Texans would love it because they want to get another stud on that defensive line. But I think that you would have to give up. I mean, I don't think the Texans really want to give up 1, 2, and 3 in the draft. So that would be a problem with the Houston Texans. I think that if you're not, let's just ignore it, because the first 2 teams in my head are Raiders and Texans. So you have to look at who's a team that really just needs an interior presence that's really close to getting there, but not there. And my thought process would be that look at the NFC. All right, let's look at the NFC. Who's a team that's close? All right, you got a team like Detroit. Detroit makes a lot of sense. John Dorsey has a good relationship. Detroit makes a lot of sense. I don't think Detroit really wants to make that big splash. That's just my opinion. But Detroit would be a team. All right. The Vikings might be a team. They got Danielle Hunter, but I know they signed Danielle Hunter, but I'm hearing different things. Minnesota's a team. Arizona, with all the trade pick, the trade capital that they've acquired, also makes a lot of sense. I'm leaning towards Arizona because I really think that Arizona they're going to roll with Kyler Murray. You got all that trade capital, and I think that a guy like Chris Jones would make Arizona really enticing. So the first two teams that pop in my head are Raiders and Texans, but I don't think they trade within the division. Texans don't have the capital. The Lions make a lot of sense to me. I think the Vikings make a lot of sense, but I look at Arizona as a team with a lot of trade capital and some money. You got to get a little creative in Arizona, but I really think that I could see that working. I want Chris Jones to stay in Kansas City. Do I think it's going to happen? No. Do I want it to happen? Yes. And that's going to be something we're going to have to like keep track of. We're going to have to really, really keep track of that story. It's something I'm going to keep track of all year. Is that all off season until he gets a long-term contract or until he's gone. It's something I'm going to constantly bring up. Do you think Sean McDermott gets fired if the Bills fail in the playoffs again or don't make it? I predicted this offseason. Now keep in mind, my AFC East picks were garbage. I had the Patriots winning. I had the Jets finishing second. I had the Bills finishing third and not making the playoffs. And I had Miami finishing last. Do I think McDermott, if they don't make the playoffs, could get fired? Absolutely, I do. I really think that he could. And I think that you could be – I think there could be some weirdness because I saw that off. So him and Dable, like, obviously hate each other. And when Dable left, the offense has dipped a little bit. Now, Ken Dorsey's been a popular name in head coaching conversations. It wouldn't surprise me if McDermott gets the axe. It really wouldn't. I mean, losing in the playoffs last year, the way they did against the Bengals, how beat up they were at home, is embarrassing. They invested a lot of money. They invested draft capital. You got Von Miller. You got Josh Allen. You have Diggs. I think you could. I really think you could. Let's say you go 10-7. By the way, I think 10-7 may not make you in the playoffs. I think there's going to be a 10-7 team in the AFC that doesn't make the playoffs. Let's say Buffalo goes 10-7 and doesn't get to the playoffs. Could McDermott be fired? Absolutely. Absolutely. What are the odds? I'm going to say about 40-45%. Yeah, you got weapons, but you need edge rushers. You need some help on defense. You need some help on offense. I do think Washington will try to go all in to get Caleb Williams. That's why I don't think Caleb Williams' draft stock is really going to develop or is really going to drop, because I think there's going to be a team, and I'm looking specifically at Washington, that's willing to trade up with a team like Chicago. But Chicago may also say, hey, we're just going to take them at 2 and, good luck. Is there a chance that Arizona could give up a king's ransom? Well, they already got enough draft picks. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Dexter Lawrence is the Dexter Lawrence is the best. Let me try. Okay, let me take a drink here. Dexter Lawrence as best is based off of having quality of pass rush basically equal with Aaron Donald and Jalen Carter, but having a harder degree of difficulty because of assignment. I love Dexter Lawrence's game. I've always been a big fan. And the defense of the Giants is struggling, but if the offense was just average, then I think the defense would be better. I think Dable the hot seat's getting a little warm, but I think the odds are like somewhere between 30 to 40% that he gets fired. I think Dable will get a chance. I do think McDermott, even if he doesn't make the playoffs, could get another chance. But I do think both coaches are on the hot seat. I really do. I really do. The Giants' job is a little appealing because even though New York's is a tough market, you don't have to win right away, especially if you go rookie quarterback. And if New York goes with a new head coach, they're probably going to draft the quarterback, and they have the draft capital to do so. If they keep Dable, if I'm Dable, I'm looking at Justin Fields and like, hey, look, do you want to come here? We'll use our first round draft pick on whatever you want. 2 second round picks will help you out. So, which head coach could develop Sam? I think a lot of them could. I like his game. If I'm Washington, I keep Sam Howell, but I think you have a new ownership group, and I think you're going to have a new general manager and head coach. And the NFL is a business. So what do you want to do? You want to sell jerseys. What do you do to sell jerseys? Take the Heisman Trophy, the last year's Heisman Trophy winner. He's not going to win it this year. Who's a local kid, and he becomes probably the number one selling jersey. Last year's first round draft pick, drawing a blank on his name. Kid out of Mississippi State. I forget. But anyway, he's number 13. You work it out. He's going to move to number 4, 12, or whatever. So refs. Keys, I know, right? It's the reason why they picked up the flag. Oh, okay. Yeah. I knew you were in Western Canada. I didn't know it's been legal the last 8 years. Is it all over in Canada? I got to go to Vancouver. Vancouver's on my bucket list. I don't know what. There's a few people that I say people. There's a few girls. Not only fans, content creators that I follow that are from Vancouver, and it's just like I don't know what they do, but it's like holy shit. It's a different level of hotness. So like Vancouver, I got to go one of these days. Is it all of Canada or is it just certain sections? Oh, really? I didn't know that. Ricky Williams was. I'm kind of leaning Saints right now for whatever reason. They love KC defensive linemen. Well, okay, so here's why I'm not looking at the Saints. They are something like 87 million over the cap. They're a team that just is just going to have to like they're gonna do something crazy. I also like that they drafted Brian Brees in the first round. So, thank you so much. Both those guys could be gone. If you keep Chris Jones, both those guys. Personally, I'd like to keep all of them, but it's a business. I understand. Thank you, One Pride. By the way, all my social media links and my weekly picks video. Check out my weekly picks video if you haven't already. All my social media links are listed below. So hit me up on social media. By the way, One Pride also sends me some other stuff, not football related. By the way, I mean this in all seriously. Do not send me porn. I will block you. But One Pride sends me some other stuff. So I do have a sense of humor. And he sends me some other stuff besides football. So does Keys. Keys said, actually, I would – some of the stuff he sent me, I would love to put on here, but I'm not going to go there. God, there's a lot of places. I'm looking first at the Raiders. I think the Raiders would be I spot number one, and I think the Raiders would really like the idea of getting a defensive guy who's had a lot of success. They could. I think the Raiders, if they're smart, I like the way they handled week one. Let's see what Antonio Pierce and Aiden O'Connell do, but the Raiders make sense. I don't think the Chargers want to go back-to-back defensive guys, but McDermott would be a great fit for the Chargers. McDermott will be a name for Washington, but again, same situation, back-to-back defensive guys. Atlanta makes a lot of sense. It's a really good defense. You probably have to draft the quarterback, and you have to bring in an offensive minded guy. More than likely, if he gets fired, I don't think he's going to be able to bring Kozar with him. So he has to bring in an offensive minded guy. He could bring somebody like Eric Bieniemy, for example, a very established offensive coordinator, and say, "Look, I'm just going to play on the defense. You play on the offense." And the more I talk about it, Atlanta makes a lot of sense. Could he go somewhere like Tampa Bay? That also makes a lot of sense. Now, keep in mind, same situation. You have defensive-minded guy in Bowles. Do you want to go with defensive-minded guy in McDermott? The reason why it makes more sense is that I know Bowles was the coach in the Jets, but McDermott was a much more successful coach. Keep in mind, Sean McDermott spent a lot of time in Carolina. So Atlanta would be option number one. But any team that wants a head coach, I think, would really need to take a hard look at McDermott. If he doesn't make the playoffs, I do think there is a chance. I think it's less than 50%, but there is a chance he could get fired. And I think Atlanta would be the perfect spot, but you got to get the right offensive guy. And I think Atlanta's going to get a new general manager as well. McDermott and the general manager have to be on the same page of what they want to do at quarterback, but the defense is really good. So I think he can work with the defense. You got to fix the offense. And the offense has weapons too. You got John Robinson. I'm forgetting the running back, the kid out of BYU. Drawing a blank on his name. You have Drake London, who I think is playing this week. You have Kyle Pitts, tons of talent not being used right. Offensive line solid. So you just got fixed quarterback, but Atlanta makes a lot of sense. Bill Belichick did it. Kansas City so far has been doing that. There's a lot of teams. That's kind of the new way of doing things. When I say new way, Belichick's been doing it for a while. When you get 30, instead of paying these guys all this money, let's just go for younger players and draft picks. So Perry says sometimes better to trade veterans for draft picks when the guy's on the wrong side of 30. Yeah, and that's kind of what the issue is with Kansas City and Chris Jones. My nostalgic side of me wants to keep Chris Jones. Logically, he's over 30. His plays dipped a little bit. Not much. I mean, he's probably one of the best defensive linemen in football, but the Bills getting curb stomped in the playoffs was foreshadowed in the Damar Hamlin game. The game was looking the same way right up to the very moment they killed him. Yeah. So here's the deal. If they played that game, Cincinnati would have won that game. How they crushed them in the playoffs was really unexcusable. I have no idea what went on with him and Dable, but I think that's an issue. It may not be, but I do think it's an issue. I mean, why do you have a guy that was instrumental in building up your superstar quarterback? Why would there be so much animosity between you two? So, do you think the long a coach stay player? Okay. So, do a players tune out? Yeah, they do. And I've heard this from multiple players that after a while, you just kind of it just kind of zones out because you just hear the same thing over and over and over again. One of the things that Andy Reid's done over the years is he's changed things around. If you look at the offense under Alex Smith, offense under Patrick Mahomes is completely different. Look at the defense. The Chiefs run the Steve Spagnuolo defense. Actually, okay, so they brought in drawing a blank here. One of the first things Andy Reid did is he brought in Eric Bieniemy, the special teams coach, Dave Toll, world-class special teams coach, brought in Eric Bieniemy, and he brought in the defense coordinator from the Jets, and I'm drawing a blank on his name, but him and Rex Ryan were instrumental in building that Jets defense. So anyway, he brought in that defensive coordinator, and things didn't work out. So after they lost to the Patriots in the AFC Championship game, they fired him. They brought in Spags, the coach he won, a lot of games with Coach. I was going to say won a Super Bowl. They didn't win a Super Bowl together in Philly. So they brought in Spags, changed the defense around. They won a Super Bowl the next year, beating San Francisco. Next couple of years, you got Mahomes, high-powered offense, defense so-so. But doing some good things, but average defense. This season they switch things and they run more of a 3-4. It's a little more of a confusing thing. Andy Reid's been able to adapt and change. I don't think Bill Belichick's been able to do that. And there's a lot of coaches that over time you just kind of tune it out. One of the things that Andy Reid done is he's been able to adapt with the times. I'm looking at Sean McDermott and I'm wondering that are people kind of tuning him out? Was he really a great coach to begin with? After a while, players tune coaches out. I mean, and part of that is you got to bring in the right guys. If you give a guy, for example, like you give on these quarterbacks a 5-year, $250 million contract, for example. Take the Arizona's perfect example. You got Kyler Murray, 5-year, $250-some million contract. He's going to stay there. I know that there's talk about, hey, we're going to draft a quarterback. No, he's going to stay there. Could he tune Jonathan Gannon out, who could be on his way out? Absolutely. Is there a chance that he tuned Cliff Kingsbury out? Absolutely. And part of that is that when you're a player and you're guaranteed a large amount of money, you don't really have to listen to the coach because the coach could be expendable. When you're guaranteed that money, you may not be. Do I think Russell Wilson tuned out Nathaniel Hackett? Absolutely, because Russell Wilson knows no matter what, I'm going to stay here. So it could be time. It just could be the guy. And then part of it is you have to get the right players in. And it's a lot of different things. But the answer to your question is absolutely. And it happens on the college level too. You get some college coaches that have been there for a long time and the players kind of like the message gets stale, things change. It doesn't always work out. So yeah. They need to rebuild, but they're not going to give up Josh Allen. They love Josh Allen. They're not going to give up Josh Allen, but they're gonna go ahead and, Von Miller, like as soon as they can, they need to move on from him. He's 36, he's injury prone. Diggs, he's over 30, he's making a lot of money. You have to move on from him. Do the Bills need to rebuild? Yeah, but not with Josh Allen. They're going to keep Josh Allen. They're going to rebuild everything else. Part of it's a lot of things, but usually one of the top selling jerseys is from players that haven't even played yet. I'm telling you right now, Caleb Williams, if he goes to Washington, his jersey will be like one of the top 5 easily. How are the Saints in cap hell? A lot of different things. A lot of their defensive players that are Cam Jordan's making a lot of money. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. One of my favorite players, middle linebacker. He's making a lot of money. Lattimore's making a lot of money. The Honey Badgers making a lot of money. Offensive line's making a lot of money. They gave Michael Thomas an arm and a leg. He didn't play for 2 years. They gave Derek Carr. I thought it was a decent contract, but he's making a lot of money. So you have a guy. The Derek Carr contract, that's a tough one because you had to give him that much money, but you're in a tough cap situation. They had a lot of. It's an older team with the Saints, but basically it all stems with Drew Brees' last couple of years. They kind of went all in to try to win some Super Bowls. And it didn't work out, and they saddled some players with big contracts. The Michael Thomas contract's a tough one because he set an NFL record and he didn't play. They gave Taysom Hill a lot of money. I mean, it's an interesting contract, but They kind of went all in, and it didn't really work out. But like it'll be interesting. The Saints are a team that's going to be very interesting. I could see the Saints just completely exploding that team. If the Bears keep it up, they may end up like the Saints. The Bears are going to be an interesting team. I'm actually like when the draft starts, we're going to pay a lot of attention to the Bears and see what they want to do. You think Dan Quinn will get another shot? Absolutely. I think a lot of teams this year may go after defensive coaches. I think Lou Anarumo from the Bengals has to get a job. I think Dan Quinn will. Now, keep in mind, Jerry Jones may be giving him a boatload of money and may also be telling him, hey, if things don't work out with McCaffrey, we'll just put you in there. But I think Dan Quinn should get another look. Lou Anarumo, the Bengals defensive coordinator, absolutely needs to get a head coaching job. It'll be once the head coaching jobs are finalized, we'll go into it. But Dan Quinn is a guy that's going to be very popular. I haven't talked about it because I think it's going to be shortened, but Jim Harbaugh is not going to be allowed to coach from the sidelines, and then for the next 3 games, it's going to get appealed so he can coach against Ohio State. I'm telling you right now, this is going to happen. I guarantee he's going to coach against Ohio State. But yeah, Chris Jones in a stunning move of irony will end up as a Patriot next year. Bob Sutton, yes, Bob Sutton. It's actually funny because once Matt Judon comes back, they actually got some really good defensive tackles. I think the defense is great. It's just the offense is kind of but that would be interesting. They tell you the truth. I don't think they can do it. That they'd have to move some pieces, and I mean a lot of pieces. But a team like Buffalo would be interested. I sent you a third DT, all or beast. You tell me the third one has a lot of I thank you so much for sending this to me, man. I really appreciate it. Bills lost Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer in that playoff game. Go RC. They were done to like 13 safeties or yeah. Bengals had 3 backup offensive linemen, and they only scored 10 points. That's kind of the thing. I get the defensive side. How do you go against 3? You have 3 3 backup offensive linemen for the Bengals, but the Bills offense, how do you only score? Now, Josh Allen was fucked up, but still, yeah. Maybe. Or maybe regardless of whether McDermott and Dable get along together, their units form a better team. It's funny because there's a lot of teams that have won Super Bowls where people didn't get along. I mean, famously, Ditka and Buddy Ryan did not like each other. There's a lot of, coaches and coordinators that didn't get along, but I've always believed, and maybe it's because I want to believe, that teams that get along win better. Teams that are cohesive win better. Even though Belichick seems like a cold guy, and some of the things that he said are cold, for the most part, things got along. Famously, Terry Bradshaw and Chuck Noll did not like each other at all. That was kind of a weird situation in Pittsburgh. So, I mean, it could happen, but like, it's just weird to me that those two just really don't like each other when they worked so well together for several years. So sometimes coaches get bored. Some coaches are builders, reconstructors. Some are sustainers. Some are fine tuners, improvisers. That's a God Keys. I wish I would have said that. I really, really wish I would have said that. That was just fucking awesome comment. Sadly, we won't get Newton from Illinois. I have to take a look at this kid. I don't even know who he is. Saints have like 32 million. Yeah, it's crazy. Remember Philly though? They had to eat like 40 some million and dead cap from Carson Wentz, but they had, Hurts on that rookie deal. So best quarterback replacement for Jordan Love. I think you go rookie. I really do. I really go rookie. You got some extra draft capital in Green Bay. I'm drawing. Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. Duh. Can't remember how they got. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers trade. So you have 2 second-round picks, and you're going to have a high first-round draft pick. I definitely 100% expect the Packers to move on from Jordan Love, get a rookie. What I would do if I was Green Bay is I would try to get in Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew signed a 1-year deal. He's going to be a free agent. If the Colts are smart, they overpay Gardner Minshew, but he's going to be a popular name. But Jordan Love, I'm sorry, Justin Fields. There's no way Justin Fields would go from Chicago to Green Bay. If I'm Green Bay, I completely go rookie quarterback. And the reason why I say that is there's a lot of young talent on that front seven. There's a lot, like that front seven could be really, really, really good. You got to figure out what to do at left tackle. It wouldn't surprise me if you trade Bacchiardi, who was really close to Aaron Rodgers, to New York and get a 5th or a 6th. But if you get a quarterback, then you still got to fix that left tackle. You may just keep Jordan Love and just try to fix the left tackle position. I don't know. If I'm Green Bay, I get a quarterback. You just have to figure out which one. And if I'm Caleb Williams, even though playing at, USC, if I could choose between Chicago and Green Bay, I would definitely choose Green Bay. That's just personal opinion. Patriots are blitzing a lot, not getting much pass pressure this year. A lot of that's Matthew Judon being out. When Matthew Judon was playing, that defense was doing really, really good. It's just the offense was bad. Judon went down, and then Christian Gonzalez looked phenomenal. And then him going down really hurt. They've had some injuries. I've been hearing a lot that if they lose against the Colts, he's going to get fired in London. I have a hard time believing that, but it could happen. But they'll probably lose tomorrow. You're not talking Michigan, are you? I don't think, but no, they can't. They can't. They'd have to get super creative and have a lot of players. Michigan, yeah. So that's. I don't want to touch base, but here I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. He's not going to coach this week against Penn State. Could be a loss, but I watched Penn State play. I don't think that they're on Michigan's level. Michigan will win. Okay. And they play Maryland. They'll beat Maryland. He'll come back for the Ohio State game. They'll work it. They'll work it out. Oh my God. Is this? Are you hanging out with Kadarius Toney right now, Gooch? Is that what's going on? The talent. It's actually the B in the Back Talk Brothers, and man, I got the talent in the house. I got 2/3. So this is great. I think the NCAA. So, I think this. If I'm Harbaugh, I go to. If I'm Harbaugh, I go to and I take the Bears job. But you got to get your guy. He may take McCarthy, his quarterback at Michigan. But you have to. There's a lot of things. We're going to talk about this. But, I think the NCAA wants him gone. I think Michigan wants to keep him. I have no idea what Harbaugh wants to do. If I was a GM, how would I build a team? It depends on the team. But, I mean, seriously, how I would build a team is different than what's worked. What's worked is getting a superstar quarterback, but I would build the team just the opposite. I would get everything perfect. And then I would get a quarterback who's either a veteran, somebody like maybe Jared Goff or somebody like that. I would feel it sounds crazy, but take a look at the Detroit Lions. All right, here's what they did. We're going to build up the offensive line. Then we're going to build up the defensive line. Then we're just build around, and we're going to get a guy at quarterback who's not a stud, but he can win games. He can be a top 10 guy. That's how I would do it, because Goff, you don't have to pay that elite money to. Now, has that worked? No, it hasn't. I mean, you know, you have to go all the way back to who was the last team? I mean, if you want to tell me Denver, when they won the Super Bowl, won with Manning not being elite, I'd hear that. But I mean, you had to pay for Manning. But how I would build a team is I would have a great offensive line. I would have a really, really good defensive line. And then I would try to find a way to cut corners at quarterback, running back, off-ball linebacker. I would overpay. I would try to get a great tight end. I would try to make sure I have at least one stud receiver, and then I'd work on the secondary. And it's funny because I'm looking at the Kansas City Chiefs, and some of what Kansas City did is exactly what I say, except they have Mahomes. But what they do after they lost to Tampa Bay, they went all in on offensive line. And that, I think, is the key to how you build a team is up front. So my number one priority would be offensive line. Then my number two priority, believe it or not, would not be quarterback. I'd be trying to get defensive line studs. So I used to say for years you had to have quarterback, left tackle, edge rusher, and it's kind of changed. And Key's kind of needled. It's like, Dan, it's more important to get interior pressure than exterior pressure. And I'm kind of thinking that he's right. And then is left tackle much more important than right tackle? It doesn't look like it's that way anymore. So, I mean, the number one priority, I think, would have to be offensive line. I would get a good offensive line. Get a good offensive line. Then I would look at defensive line, but then, I would, hey, look, maybe I don't get that superstar quarterback. However, if I got a guy who's just middle of the pack, then I just keep drafting, because you're spending less on the quarterback until you get that magic guy. So I talked out of both sides of my mouth there. So I feel like Green Bay will wait for a quarterback and the draft falls in their lap. The Packers build through the draft. So that's how they've done it in the past, and that's kind of been the Packer method. But they've always had Favre or Rodgers since what? 95? No, it was before that. 91. And you're seeing how the team looks without an elite quarterback. If you fall in love with, I think this is the year that the Packers say, look, we're going to get our guy. But they also have this massive hole at left tackle too. I haven't paid much attention on draft prospects this year, but if a Bears fan, I would. Yeah. We're going to go a ton into the draft. So I don't think Belichick gets fired. Kraft gives him the chance to go out re-signing. He's kind of done that the last couple of years. He's given him a chance. He spent a ton of money a couple of years ago. Then, it was Mac Jones, and then he got hurt. They brought in Cam Newton. You got rid of when they lost McDaniels, you got Patricia. Now you got Bill O'Brien. I don't think he is either, but I keep seeing this on social media, and I'm wondering whether smoke there's fire. So, and Gucci, it was funny. I started watching the video, and I only got to 8. I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. I love the idea of doing the tiers, and don't knock the munchie keys back. I've never had a marijuana gummy. I've never had a marijuana gummy. Swans is we're excited. You get bagel dogs, pizza, barbecue wings, root beer floats, mint bars, aren't great. My dad, I grew up on Swans. My dad got a ton of stuff from Swans. I don't personally. I get the cheap frozen dinners, and I might have to change that, but I grew up on Swan. My dad got a ton, and it's real. I think Swans is fantastic. I really do. I grew up on that stuff. I loved it. It does. Yeah. When you look at Detroit, what did they do? Offensive line, defensive line. And they focused on those two. So yeah, I did. That's exactly what I would do. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Gooch. I am really sorry because I love that you're doing the top 10. When I was driving yesterday after I got on, I drove, or after I got on your show, it was Wednesday. So I started driving yesterday and I started watching it, and I just had some incidents at work. I apologize. And then I wasn't able to watch it because as soon as I got home, I had to watch all Thursday Night Football. And then I worked this morning. So I think Hannah ate all the bread. Green Bay can't be bad if they need to stay competitive for them to survive. So when I look at Green Bay, they got some pieces in the secondary. That front seven is phenomenal. But they got a hole at left tackle. They got youth at tight end and wide receiver. I'm drawing a blank on that offensive lineman who I'm absolutely in love with in Green Bay. He's played all over. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Backyard, he can't stay healthy. You got to move on from him. Do you get the left tackle? Do you get the stud left tackle and build through Jordan Love? I think what you do is, I think this is the year you get your quarterback. So I'm going to say Mike Hall reminds me of Chris Jones. Wow. I was a huge fan of Chris Jones coming out of college. It was funny because Mississippi State had this 5'6", 180-pound running back who was so much fun to watch. I remember we ran like a 4.87 at the combine. Dak Prescott was their quarterback, and Chris Jones played defensive end. And I remember watching that. I was like, Chris Jones looked just dominant. And Dak Prescott was a ton of fun to watch. He ran a lot. They didn't throw the ball very much. The running back had over 1,200 yards in the SEC. Not an NFL player, but he was fun to watch. You know, it was fun because he's like 5'6", 180, but he ran like he was like a 240-pound. You know, he ran like he was Derrick Henry. It was a fun team to watch, man. It was a fun team to watch. It was a fun team to watch. So I still remember my childhood Swans, man, complete in short shorts, creepy mustache man named Jeff. If you're out there, you owe me some of your. Oh God. Dan came. You know what? I do watch some other stuff besides football, and I've been watching. So like Amazon came out with a bunch of new shows, and I have to watch TV to sleep, and then usually I watch a little TV in the morning while I'm drinking coffee, trying to get going. I've been watching some shows on Amazon, and I mean I can complain about a lot of the new wave TV and stuff, but the Amazon had some shows I've kind of been engaged with lately. So, which season? I think. Jesus God. Yeah, you know what? I had a girlfriend who loved Grey's Anatomy, And I tried watching it with her. I couldn't get into it. The only hospital show I ever watched, and Gooch will remember this, is Saint Elsewhere. Saint Elsewhere was cool. Anything else, no. That's awesome. I think go trenches this year. They could. The Lions are going to be a fun team. I wouldn't be surprised if they trade out of the first round, though. Players I want in the draft are Mr. Robinson and Steve Avila. Avila, in this year's draft, he went to the Rams. I think he's playing some really good ball, too. I was doing good until Dan read that comment out loud. Like, and Jeff, you owe my partner money. Don't make me find you and give you. A little love to Hannah. Gooch. St. Elsewhere was a great show, man. It was a great show. So imagine Mike Hall next to Aiden Hutchinson. Hopefully he'd take those doubles away. I could, it'll be interesting to see what the Lions do, because I think the Lions are going to lose some players, and I think they're going to lose some coaches. But it's kind of the old school philosophy that they just trade out. Let's see what happens. And listen to Justin Bieber. He has Bieber fever. All right. You know what? I've said back to back, this is my midseason shows, but my midseason awards, I may just I might just put them in the community tab and have you guys argue about them. But because I want to go over the point spreads and how they've changed. No, I'm not old. No, I'm not old. I'm old enough to know better, too young to care. You remember St. Elsewhere. Gooch remembers St. Elsewhere. Don't forget to hit that like Dan hitting the crap. Oh, okay. All right. You know what? I won't do it in a specific order. I'll give you my MVP. My MVP, I'm going to give you my 1, 2, and 3, and I'll go in order. Number 3 is Jalen Hurts. Just playing phenomenal. I mean, to be honest with you, people are ignoring the 4th and 1 tush push is automatic. I think he has 6 or 7 rushing touchdowns. Passing yards is on point. He's probably going to have over 10 rushing touchdowns and over 4,000 passing yards. I love Jalen Hurts. Fan of his game. He's number 3. Number 2 is A.J. Brown. I almost put A.J. Brown as my MVP. I think he's having a phenomenal year. Just dominant wide receiver. Dominant. Size. He's like 6'1", 220, 225. He can run after the catch. I mean, he's built like a power running back. Phenomenal hands. I mean, it's kind of funny because I almost think Philly's offense has regressed a little bit, but I mean, A.J. Brown, that 6 games over 125-yard receiving, an all-time NFL record. He's number 2, and number 1. I even after Sunday is Tyreek Hill. Miami Dolphins have the highest scoring offense in the NFL. I think it's Tyreek Hill more than anybody else. I was really surprised. And a lot of people gave Pete's takes. Pete came on when the Chiefs played the Dolphins, giving him a lot of credit because he's been telling people he's not sold on Tua. And I agree with him. I don't think it's Tua. I think it's Tyreek Hill. I mean, Tyreek Hill is the scariest player in the NFL right now. And you take him away, I don't think that Dolphins offense is that good, but their highest scoring offense. You want to say, Dan, they can't beat a good team. They're 6-3 and they're on top of the AFC East. I had them finishing dead last. So Tyreek Hill is my MVP so far. When everything's said and done, things could be subject to change. Mahomes is having a down year by his standards, but after the bye, watch out for Mahomes. Lamar Jackson's playing really good football. I'm letting you know right now, watch out for Joe Burrow. That's a guy I could see Cincinnati getting hot. By the way, next Thursday, Cincinnati, Baltimore on Thursday Night Football. Wow. But today, right now, it's Tyreek Hill. And I'm pulling for him to get over 2,000 yards. I really am. A lot of Chiefs fans still have some resentment towards him. I do not. Tyreek Hill is my MVP right now. Believe it or not, it may end up being Mahomes, but I think it's Lamar right now. It could be. It really, Lamar stays healthy for 17 games and they win the AFC North. You got to put them in there. You gotta put them in there. I think the offense is going to take a step up after the bye. I really believe that because you have some young players. I want to believe in Sky more. I haven't found out more because Justin Ross is on the exempt list. I want to find out what happens with him, but him coming back may help. Travis Kelce off of a bye, he stays healthy, he stays fresh. I mean, very dangerous. So, would you give comeback player of the year? Would you give comeback player of the year to? You know what? A comeback player of the year is the one I didn't have, because I have a hard time. Like I could say Tua. I could say Lamar. A lot of people want to say Hamlin, just the simple fact that he's playing again. I don't know what really qualifies as comeback player of the year. I mean, is it a guy who you know? I mean, I could easily say Hamlin and be correct. I could make a case for Tua, who's putting up phenomenal numbers right now. That's one award I wouldn't. I didn't do comeback player of the year. I just did rookie. I did offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year. I did rookie of the year. My offensive player of the year is AJ Brown. My defensive player of the year, I really struggled with because somebody brought up Max Crosby, and I'm like, he probably deserves some credit, but he's not my guy. My defensive player of the year is TJ Watt. Number 2 is Myles Garrett. And I mean, I would probably go number 3. I want to go somebody else, but I'm probably going to go Max Crosby. And I feel like a homer. I know he's a Raider, and I'm a Chiefs fan. It's just I love Max Crosby's game. I love Max Crosby's game so much. I feel bad putting him at 3, but that's kind of what I would do. Offensive, player of the year, I'm going to probably go, AJ Brown, and then Jalen Hurts would be number 2, and number 3. I didn't do a number 3. I could throw Tua in there, but it's hard to say. Your big disappointed players or teams this year. Team is New England because I had them winning the East. I was devastated that I think it's sad, to be honest with you, that I'm seeing maybe the best coach in NFL history going 2-7. Before the season started, I said that was a great team. The bet action on it 7.5. Yeah, Russell Wilson. That's a great one. Chargers. That's another team just underperform. As a Chiefs fan, I love it. Those two teams, but Giants are. I didn't expect much of the Giants, but I didn't think they'd be this bad. Keys puts on Giants. Man, I really don't like being hard on players, but I mean, I said this. There was a Giants fan who kept on giving me a ton of shit about Daniel Jones, and I was like, dude, I need to see more. But when your best season is you play 17 games as starting quarterback, or 16, he may have missed one, is 3,000 passing yards in today's game, I need to see more. And this guy just kept on like, you're a hater, you hate Daniel Jones. Like, I need to see more. I mean, yeah, I know he got injured, but even before he got injured, I mean, yeah, there's offensive line problems, but I mean, he looked really bad. I mean, he looked really bad. So, I don't like the dog players, but Daniel Jones, I mean, so the fact that people put Tua and Tyreek in the top 5 MVP list told you that one of them has to be removed completely. It's oxymoron. I can't have one. Yeah, I'm sorry. And I it's funny because like I'm doing that with the Eagles because I'm doing it with Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, but I'm not going to do it with Tua and Tyreek. And I know it doesn't make any sense. It's just that AJ Brown is just almost unguardable. I mean, he just his game's phenomenal. I mean, he has this size, power, running ability, hands. Coming into the league, he wasn't really that good of a route runner. He looks like he's really improved that. The tush push, the leadership, the fact that they got the best record. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I could poke some holes in this game, but I love Jalen Hurts. I know I do have AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts in top 5 for MVP. I do. I'm not going to do it with Tua and Tyreek because I think Tyreek Hill makes Tua. Would Jalen Hurts be as good without AJ Brown? I don't think so, but I still think Jalen Hurts would be a legitimate MVP candidate. I really do. I agree with that completely, Perry. I 100% agree with it. And I brought this up to Pete. I was like, what do you do if you're the Dolphins? Because Herbert got over 250. Burrow got 275, 250, 275. The next number is 300 million. And that's what Tua's agent's probably going to ask for. But can you do it? And he said, man, I'd rather move on. And that's going to be an interesting story. Could Tua move on after this season from another team? And the answer is, I think he could. If I'm Miami, I'd rather draft. I'd rather have Caleb Williams in Miami than Tua because I got all this talent. Because if you pay Tua the $300 million that his agent should be asking for, the rest of your team suffers, and there's holes on that Dolphins team. By the way, yeah, absolutely. Russ Wilson to the Bears for just. I'm going to tell you this right now. There is absolutely no way Sean Payton wants anything to do with Justin Fields. I don't see this at all. I watched Penn State play, and that offense is not good. Michigan may be the most talented team in the country. I don't see it. I really don't. But if it happens, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. The thing with Michigan's going to galvanize. Yeah, I think so too, Gooch. I really think that. Yeah, I'm going to tell you this. Here's what's going to happen. Harbaugh's going to come back for the Ohio State game. I 100% believe he's going to come back for the Ohio State game. I 100% believe that. Oh yeah, Odell Beckham. That's another guy. He didn't even play last year. Odell, here's the deal. It's not the numbers, but Odell's bringing a lot to that Ravens offense. Yeah, there's this Giants fan. When I broke down the Giants, I said a weakness is I got to see more Daniel Jones. And he kept on telling me he put a comment. What's it? What about when the Giants fans are saying MVP? And I said nothing. It means absolutely nothing to me. I need more than 3,000 yards. 3,000 yards is below average, and that was his best year. And he wasn't playing well. Then he got hurt. That's why, like, if I'm the Giants, I use that draft capital to fix my team up, and I try to say, can I get Justin Fields for a 4th? And I would bring them both into the office, and I would say, look, best player starts. But if I'm Dable, I'm like, look, Fields, listen, learn this fucking offense. We're going to get you some weapons, and you got a chance in a couple of years from now to make $200 to $300 million. That's the conversation I have. And I, support Daniel Jones publicly, but privately, I'm trying to move on. You gave him the big contract. It didn't work out. Yeah, he got injured, but we literally don't have to ask if Hurts would be as good without A.J. Brown. We saw the man have his jump into the MVP conversation last year after. Yeah, I know. But I also think that if you took A.J. Brown out, I still think that he would be really good. I think that he would. I mean, don't get me wrong, he wouldn't be as good. Devontae Smith's a good player. They got rid of Miles Sanders, but they got some other running backs. The Swift's playing phenomenal. But let's say they didn't make that move for A.J. Brown. Now, Treylon Burks has ended up not really working out. But let's say you got another receiver you put in there. Could he do the same with another receiver? And Devontae Smith's pretty good too. But would Jalen Hurts be an MVP candidate without A.J. Brown? You could easily say no. I still think he's in that conversation. I know what you're saying. You can't have two in the top five. I do. I really do. And is it fair? Maybe it's not, but I do. I think that what A.J. Brown is doing this year is amazing. I love the tush push. I love the leadership. I love the rushing touchdowns, and you can't argue with the record. And I'm kind of pulling for Jalen Hurts, except not next week when he plays the Chiefs. He has a bad game in Kansas City. Exactly, Perry, you nailed it. But here's the deal: you 250 for Herbert, 275 for Burrow. His agent's probably going to push for 300. If you're Tua and you're smart, you take a deal like you take a deal pays you a little more than what Derek Carr. Derek Carr signed a 4-year, $160 million deal with the Saints. You could probably get a 4-year, $175 million deal. Life-changing money. Okay. It doesn't hamstring your team. Plus, if you stay healthy, you renegotiate that in a couple of years when you're still in your prime, and then you make the big money then. But if you do that friendly deal, now 15 million tops, he's not going to take that. Geno Smith signed a 3-year, $105 million. But if Tua's smart, he takes a lesser deal, stays in Miami, and just has a lot of fun. And if he does that, the Dolphins could build something really good. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think that he's going to go with that. I really do. I think his agent, and what you're going to hear is $300 million. Yeah, top 10. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I think he's top 10, probably not top 5, maybe top 5. But I still think that he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. I really do. I just love his game, man. And but would he not be enough? That's fair. Yeah, I agree with that. It almost is. But yeah, if he's smart, I'm telling you right now, I'm giving you the contract. 4 years, 175. It's more than the Saints gave Derek Carr. All right. You do something like that, and you work it out that you can get out or restructure after 2 or 3 years. You kind of got, it's the wording of the contract. You do something like that, you stay healthy, you win a lot of games, and then that next contract, your third contract, you break the bank. And that's if I'm to his agent, that's what I'm telling him. But what I think his agent's telling him is trying to get that $300 million, get it all at once. Well, I'm gonna watch some of it. Maybe, probably not tonight after tonight's show, but I'll watch it over to you know what? I probably won't watch this. I'll watch it soon. I'm gonna try to do this weekend, but I'm gonna lie to you. I don't want to lie to you and tell you I will. One reason I don't have a problem with Mahomes getting more of his money now to keep pumping up that quarterback AAV. What was it? Actual average value or something like that. But I want to go over these games real fast here, and I want to go over the point spreads and how the general public's betting. Hurts was my fantasy quarterback in 2021, helped me win a championship, so I'm not hating on him. He has value with his arms and legs, but I saw a lot of him pre-A.J. Brown bump up, coincide. Absolutely. And annual average value. No, it's just I just love his game. I'm just such a huge fan of him. Seriously, if I'm the Dolphins and the contract doesn't work out, I really consider moving on and just going a rookie route, because that team's talented enough and they got so much. So here's the deal. If you go with a rookie quarterback with that offense and you could build up the defense a little more, because remember, they got Christian Wilkins. They haven't been able to sign him yet. I thought they did, and it turns out to be they didn't. They need to figure out what to do with Wilkins, because if you sign Tua, you're not going to be able to sign Wilkins. By the way, Wilkins would be great in Kansas City. Just throwing that out there. I love Christian Wilkins. So you get rid of, let's just say you get rid of Tua, because Austin Jackson, who took 4 years to have a good season, is finally playing well. If you get rid of Tua, you sign Austin Jackson. You sign Christian Wilkins. You can get a draft pick probably and add to that team. You're also able to keep Jalen Waddle, who every time I watch Miami and I watch Jalen Waddle, I'm like, oh my God, this guy is good. So I absolutely because they got so many pieces. Because here's the deal. If you sign Tua, you're probably going to lose Waddle. You're going to lose Christian Wilkins. You're going to lose Austin Jackson. And you still have some holes on that team. And you're going to lose three. Now Jalen Waddle's not, unless he holds out, he's not a free agent. But if you move on from Tua, you keep everything and then you can add. And I think here's another thing is you have all that speed. Why do you have a quarterback with below average arm strength? I mean, his accuracy is good, but Keys, I don't know if you know who Christian is it Watkins or Wilkins? I should know this. Played at Clemson. I love his game, and I want him in Kansas City big time. Probably Chiefs can't afford him. Don't get me wrong. He's going to ask for a lot of money. Wilkins, yeah. Those two guys are, they're paying a lot of money, and they're not going to be. If you sign Tua to the contract, you're going to lose so many players. I kind of think so too. McDaniel, I'm going to tell you something. That loss against Kansas City, I was really impressed with McDaniels. And McDaniels is not Tua. McDaniels was brought in when Tua was already there, so he had to work with Tua. I think McDaniels is thinking to himself, I could probably do something more with a rookie. Yes, I would. And the guy I'm looking at right in your backyard, and I have not watched him play yet, but I want to see what this kid out of North Carolina, because if you can trade Tua, you probably can't get up to get him. But is there another quarterback in this draft that you could work with? Yeah. I was trying to think of this, and an interesting place for Tua I'll be honest with you, it won't happen, but the best place for Tua would be Denver. Denver would be the best place for Tua, because that offense is perfect for what Tua does really well. The best place I think that he would go to, and I think it's the most enticing place, would actually be Vegas. Things didn't work out with Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, keep in mind, in order for Vegas to work out, you have to move on from Garoppolo. That means you're not sold on Aiden O'Connell, which I like. I like O'Connell. I would roll with Pierce and Aiden O'Connell if you can. But let's just say Aiden O'Connell's a dud. You move on from Jimmy G. Tua to Vegas makes sense. But there's so much uncertainty with Vegas. I mean, who's going to be their head coach after this year? What are they going to do with the quarterback? I like O'Connell too. I'm if I'm the Raiders, if they're anywhere near 500 with Aiden O'Connell and Antonio Pierce, that's what I roll with in 2024. But if it looks like that's just a disaster, then you have to figure some things out. Would you like seriously? I have no I don't know what kind of a quarterback Mike McDaniel wants, but I kind of got the impression Mike McDaniel would like to have somebody with some mobility. But if he wants a pocket passer, which by the way, he comes from that Shanahan tree where I know they had Robert Griffin, but he worked with McVay, who won a Super Bowl with a guy like Stafford. But I'm kind of thinking that they want somebody a little more mobile. My personal opinion is Jimmy Cornstar Slayer. That's awesome. My impression of McDaniels, and I have no idea, is that I think he'd like to get a young quarterback who can run and that has a big arm. And you may be able to get that in the draft. You may be able to get somebody. Seriously, Justin Fields in that offense, that would work. But my impression of McDaniels is that I think he would like to draft his guy and build up his guy. The Tua situation this offseason is going to be awesome, and this is just phenomenal. But yeah, I really like O'Connell, and like I said, the Raiders are anywhere if they finish the stretch from here on out anywhere near 500. I go with Aiden O'Connell. I go with Antonio Pierce. I draft the best possible offensive lineman I can, and because that's the biggest hole the Raiders have. I put them on the right side day one. And then I start adding pieces to that defense. And the thing I think the Raiders should do is not go after superstars, but go after guys that can be average to above average. You want to draft guys high floor, low ceiling, and build up that defensive line. Build up guys that can just. You don't need Pro Bowl defensive tackles when you got a guy like Max Crosby, but get a guy that can be potentially above average on that defensive line. That's what I would do if I was the Raiders. So I know it wasn't your question. This is awesome. All right. Week 10 picks. By the way, below is my Week 10 picks video. Please check it out. It's awesome. Please check it out. So New England opened up as a 1.5 point dog in Germany. They're technically the home team. They're now a 2-point dog. People are betting against them. I'm picking New England. I don't know why. I'm just stuck on it. I have a hard time believing Belichick's just going to just win like 3 games. I can't see it. The Colts win this game. They're right back in the playoff picture. I just don't see the Colts being a playoff team. Public's betting against the Patriots, but not by much. I would not recommend betting on this game unless you're dead set on the Colts winning. 2 points isn't much. The over-under at 43 is interesting because the Colts have scored, I think, over 20 points in every single game this year. Patriots having some problems on defense, but the offense is so horrific. 43 is a low number. There's no game on here that over-under really means a lot, but the betting public's going against the Patriots. I thought that they would win at home against Washington last week. So Tennessee, Tampa Bay, the line opened up Tampa Bay -1, still there. I think Tennessee wins this game going away. I just Anthony Richardson's out the whole year. He's out the whole year, but he'll be the starter mini camp, training camp, and And then, you have to figure out what to do with, and I think he should have been the starter this year. And I can't believe I forgot Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is a guy that is going to be a free agent, and he's capable of being a starter for some teams. If I'm the Colts, I give him like a 3-year, $50 million deal. And I know that sounds crazy. I overpaid to keep Minshew in Indianapolis, but that's another story altogether. But yeah, he's injured. He's out the whole year, no matter what. Tennessee at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's lost 4 straight. I think that loss against Houston, I don't think the Bucs are going to get over that game. I really don't. I think that game, I can't see them rebounding. I just can't see it. I think that they're just going to be on self-destruct mode. Bowles is going to be gone. I think the team knows it. I just have a hard time seeing them rebound. Tennessee looks rejuvenated and Tampa doesn't. I'm surprised more people aren't betting on this one. I think I think Tennessee wins by double digits. I know it's in Tampa, but I mean, they're the better team, man. I don't get this. You know what? I actually got it. So by the way, Keys, if you're still there, at the beginning of the year, I told you after the Lions game, I wasn't going to do any more sports betting. I bet on Kansas City. I got a promotion through DraftKings, and it wasn't. Technically, I didn't put money into an account, but I do have money. I got a promotion from my bookie, and I might put that money down on Tennessee. So I lied to you. I told you I wasn't going to bet, and I did. I bet on Kansas City last week. It's a promotion, and it was like it's not even real money. So. Baltimore 6-point home favorite. Yes. Will Levis. Will Levis has been named a starter for the rest of the year. So Tannehill's going to be a guy come the end of the year. He's going to be a free agent. I believe the way the contract's up, he's going to be a free agent. Derrick Henry's going to be a free agent. But yeah, Will Levis is the starter. You did. You did. And you won that bet. And Gooch is dropping off your present in one of those vases that my mom likes. So Baltimore's 6-point favorite. They're now 6.5. This is going to be fun for Baltimore because next week they play Thursday night against Cincinnati. Betting public likes Baltimore. I like Baltimore. You didn't take it. No, I did not. I did not take the bet. I'm glad you remember that. But yeah, I know. Exactly. I know. I like Cleveland. I like their defense. I think there's a chance Skornansky, if he can't get the Browns into the playoffs this year, does get fired, even though that AFC North is brutal. I love their defense. But, yeah, if you're talking about Skornansky, I do think he's gone. But here's a chance, though. If Cleveland wins this game, they're a team to fear in the NFL. You got a quarterback. You got a defense. You got even without Nick Chubb, you Jerome Ford's a guy I really like coming out of Cincinnati. Kareem Hunt had some really good years in Kansas City, had some good times in Cleveland backing up Nick Chubb. He's fresh. I think Baltimore is going to win that, and I think Cleveland's a team that's going to miss the playoffs at around 10-7. And Skornansky could be gone, and that'll be an interesting name because he did some good things. Cleveland's a weird franchise. It'll be interesting to see what happens in Cleveland, but this is going to be a fun game. Saints at Minnesota. The line jumped from Minnesota being a 2.5-point home dog to 3. I know people are pulling for Joshua Dobbs. I'm pulling for Joshua Dobbs. I think this is where the Saints could quietly start getting hot, low-key hot, and I think really taking over that NFC South. I don't have a lot of faith in Atlanta. Keep in mind, Atlanta travels to the desert. They're going to play Arizona. If they lose in Arizona, then but I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Kyler Murray's first start of the year. The line dropped a little bit, 41.5, 41. Betting public sees what I see. Saints are just a better team than Minnesota, but I'm pulling for Josh Dobbs so much. Do you think Watson's return to be a star quarterback, or he has collected his money? The Skornansky-Watson pairing doesn't work because Skornansky wants to have a run-first offense, and Watson's it's like putting a square peg in a round hole. I really think that what's going to happen is that I think after this year, Skornansky's going to. I think I'm getting his name wrong. Anyway, the Cleveland Browns head coach I think is going to be gone, and I think that they're going to bring in a guy that can be a more passing friendly coach. Ken Dorsey. It's kind of funny. I don't expect Eric Bieniemy, but drawing a blank here. Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator of the Chargers. Could have a lot of names, but I really think that they're going to make a move. Stefanski, yeah, I said Skornansky, who I was thinking about as rookie of the year. Didn't make my list as rookie of the year, but he's having a good year in Tennessee. But I could see some changes in Cleveland because Stefanski's a run-first coach, and Watson's a guy that spread the field, chuck it, and he's awesome. But can you imagine Lou Anarumo? Oh, God, that would be ridiculous. That would be ridiculous. And, that actually makes a lot of sense if I'm Cleveland. I would bring in Anarumo in a heartbeat and then just have Anarumo, look, bring in a guy that Watson likes as his offensive coordinator and don't even touch the offense. And that would – oh, God, that would be my favorite. I don't know what he's doing, but Cliff Kingsbury, if you put Kingsbury and Watson together, that could be scary. But yeah. And I do think it I don't think it's going to work out. And it's not Stefanski's fault. It's not Watson's fault. I just don't think it's going to work out. Baltimore's going up. I mean, 6.5 is a big number against a really good Browns team, but I kind of like it. I should check the weather report, but I like Baltimore. This is interesting. Houston travels to Cincinnati. Cincinnati was a 6.5-point home dog. It's now 6. I think CJ Stroud's going to struggle in this game. I really like Cincinnati. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm pulling for Houston, obviously, but I really think that we're going to see CJ Stroud kind of come back down to earth in this one. I mean, I think Cincinnati might be the scariest team in the AFC. We're gonna find out. But the betting public kind of bought on to CJ Stroud. 6 is a big number, but still, I bet against him at your own accord. Some Jacksonville fans were talking about being disrespected. They're a 3-point home dog, even though they've won 5 straight. Look, San Francisco's fresh off a bye. They're getting healthy. I think they're the better team. The line dropped from 45 to 44.5. I don't think there's a lot of action on this game, even though you got 2 really, really good teams. The line stayed at 3. There's not really much to tell. Green Bay at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh opened 3-point home dog, stayed at 3-point home dog. The over-under went from 37.5 up to 38.5. And the reason why is that I think people are just looking at Green Bay just having I think people are looking at Green Bay just having a bad defense. I predicted the under personally, but I wouldn't bet the over-under on this game. I do like Pittsburgh to cover 3 at home, though. Will Anderson's not playing bad. They got a 4th-round pick out of Alabama. I'm drawing like Tutomo or something like that. He's leading the team in tackles. He should get some consideration for defensive rookie of the year. He won't win it, but he should get some consideration. He's playing really good. Will Anderson's not playing bad. He needs some help, and he's not going to get it in the draft, but it wouldn't surprise me if Houston tries to add some players on that defensive line. That wide 9 defense that he ran in San Francisco only works if you got a lot of studs on that defensive line. Having only one is not enough, and they need some help on that defensive line. He's not playing bad. He's just not playing like a top 5 pick. The 4th round pick, it's Henry Tua, something like that. Leading the team in tackle, is really having a great year. I think he's 4th round pick. You know, Gooch knows what I'm talking about. Alabama guy. Alabama guy. Kind of surprised with the Kyler Murray confirmed starting that the line went from Arizona +1 to Arizona +2. It did go from 42.5 to 43.5. I would love to see Arizona win this game. Just like Kyler Murray comes back, and you know things are looking good for Arizona. Corey, aka the Red Sea, me and him still chat on Instagram. He hasn't joined the show in a while, but he sends me some stuff. We chat. Longtime Cardinals fan, so I kind of pull for him. Golden Rooster, one of my longest time subscribers. Haven't heard from him in a while. He's a Falcons fan. I'm dying to know what he thinks. Going with Heineke, benching Ritter. I get it. I just think the Falcons team's falling apart, but I think they get the win this week. You know, I mean, again, check out my picks video. It's a fantastic video. My picks videos the last couple of weeks have been really good. Washington I'm sorry. Skipped the game here. This is a fun one for you Lions fans. The Lions at Chargers. Chargers opened up a 1.5 point home dog. I believe it was Funk who told me that the look ahead line was Chargers favored by 1, and then it switched instantly. And I'm almost thinking it had to be a typo. I didn't go and do a lot of research, but on DraftKings, the look ahead line. And I thought I mean, if you have it, you have it. But it instantly switched from 1.5 points to 1.5. Now it's 3. So people are really high on the Lions. And I would be too. I think it's going to be a closer game than people think. I would not take 3, but if you can get 2.5, taking the Lions off of a bye. Keep in mind the Chargers played in Monday night in New York. That's a long trip on a short week against a team fresh off a bye. I will admit this. I'm a little cautious on how Detroit's going to react as, you know, the obvious leader of the NFC North off of a bye. Are they going to come out flat? And a lot of Lions fans are probably thinking the same thing Perry's saying. The Lions should be healthy, looking forward to what they can do at full strength. I'm almost wondering, because this is a situation that they've never had before. You know, going into a bye, it's always been, we need to get better. Where now they're going into the bye like, okay, we're healthy. You know, Jameson Williams is back. I know they had some other injuries. Montgomery is supposedly going to play, and they're going to have 50-50 with Gibbs and Montgomery. And by the way, if you get up big, put Gibbs on the bench. You want to keep him healthy. I know he had a great game, but if you're giving him 20 and 25 touches a game, he's not going to last in the playoffs. And the Lions got to be thinking playoffs. I wish I could do that. I wish I had a Jim Morris soundbite. I want to do that so bad. But if you bet on this game, try to get 2.5 somewhere. DraftKings has it 3. You should have took it earlier at 1.5. But 3 solid. Don't do 3.5. Don't get nailed by the hook. The Chargers have a really good offensive line. That's another thing. They have a really good offensive line. A lot of talent, just poorly coached team. That's going to be a fun game. I mean, I'm obviously pulling for the Lions, but I'm like, I don't know. How are they going to react off of a bye? It'll be interesting. Obviously pulling for the Lions this week. Washington at Seattle. Opened at 6. Seattle favored by 6. Still at Seattle favored by 6. Line went from 45.5 to 44.5. No real thoughts on this game. What playoff? I'm just happy we. I want to hear from you guys. I'm going to keep asking this, but how do Lions fans feel about the play? Would you feel like this was a successful season if you go, if you get there and lose? Just like Minnesota. Remember, Minnesota went 13-4 last year. They hosted a playoff game, and then they lost. I think that was a successful season for Minnesota. The problem is they lost so much in free agency. Lions is a little different. They're going to lose some things in free agency. They're going to lose some coaches, but they can also look at this as a stepping stone, as a building block, because they have a lot more youth on this team. If you're a Lions fan, is this a successful year if you get that home playoff game and you lose? I really want to know this. We are missing James Houston. Well, here's the deal with I know you're missing Houston, but Brian Branch has stepped in perfectly. And he's a guy. So my defensive rookie of the year, I didn't go over it, but Brian Branch and Tumala to the guy from Houston deserves some honorable mentions. Jalen Carter's my defensive rookie of the year. But Brian Branch deserves an honorable mention. I love Brian Branch's game. And it's got him in second rounds to steal. And he's having a phenomenal impact on your team. Doing a really good job. Really, really good job. You guys got somebody. CJ, you may not even want to try to re-sign. He's going to be an interesting player in free agency. Yeah, they're favored by 6. I didn't check the weather report. 44.5 is interesting. I actually have Washington covering, but I love this stuff. By the way, One Pride, I'm so grateful that you sent this to me. I wish more people. If you got a draft crush, will you please send me some stuff like One Pride? That's why all my social media links are listed below. All my social media links. And if you haven't already, watch my weekly picks video. It's a phenomenal video. A+ video. I think we win the NFC North and host a playoff game. That's a step in the right direction. Yeah, exactly. Let's say you lose that game, it's still a win for you guys. But I have a feeling there's going to be some Lions fans who are going to be disappointed in losing that playoff game, and I don't think you should be. I'm dying to know what you guys think. New York at Dallas. Dallas opened as a 16. 1-6. I can't believe it. I mean, I do. And they're now 17. I don't think I can take an NFL team to cover 17. I don't think I can. Do I think they will? Yes. I do. I think that they're going to cover 17. I would never bet an NFL team to cover 17, but I think Pete Carroll is the better. Oh yeah. Pete Carroll's. Yeah. Here's the problem is that even if Washington does well, there's no. I'm drawing a blank on the Washington coach's name. I can't believe that. Ron Rivera. Sorry. He's not saying the general manager and head coach. Because of you did. You signed CJGJ. You didn't expect Branch to be available in round 2, and he should not have been. So the Chargers drafted Quentin Jefferson, and they really like him, but he's still got to develop. They should have drafted Branch. But yeah, exactly. 100%. Campbell will win Coach of the Year. I didn't even go over my Coach of the Year. All right, so I'm going to give you my Coach of the Year. I have Nick Sirianni for the Eagles. Loses both coordinators. Didn't lose a lot in free agency, but they lost Hargrove, big contract, went to the 49ers. They're 8-1. Not only did you lose both coordinators, you lost some assistant coaches. That's my guy. John Harbaugh's number 2. D'Amico Ryans for the Houston Texans. I want to give an honorable mention to. I think he's done a phenomenal job. Just, not a lot of talent in that team. Rookie quarterback. I think he's done an amazing job. Dan Campbell should get some consideration too. I didn't have him in honor. I didn't do 1, 2, and 3, to be honest with you. I really couldn't decide between. To tell you the truth, I'd do 1, 2, and 3. Coach of the year: Sirianni, Harbaugh, Doug Peterson, and Doug Peterson. When Jacksonville's 1 and 2, I started following more and more people on Jacksonville social media because I had UCF Jaguar, and so Ron Rivera has player control, and he's not going to have that going forward after the year because of the new ownership group. But Riviera is technically the GM. Yeah, they named him or whatever, but no, Ron Rivera has player control. So I don't think you do, man. But we'll see. We'll see. I think CJ is not a good fit in Detroit after he got injured. Yeah, well, I think Brian Branch is just that good. That's what I think. I think Brian Branch is just phenomenal, and I think he fits like a hand in a glove. And he's the type of guy that, I think that because of him, you don't have to go after a guy like CJ. So if the Jets make the 8 or 9, 9 or 8, I think Saleh gets the edge after losing Rodgers. I give Saleh some credit. I mean, that was devastating, and I thought that if they beat the Chargers on Monday night, which I predicted incorrectly, they're right in the playoff hunt. But after that loss, it's hard. And I mean, it's there's really not much he can do. But yeah. McDaniel deserves some. Yeah, he deserves some credit. I had Miami finishing dead last in that division. So Lions need an award winner. Midseason awards, I don't have any. Not for the Lions. My top 3 coaches, like I said, it would be Sirianni, Harbaugh, and Doug Peterson. So I was trying to say I was doing a lot of following of Jacksonville Jaguars fan when they lost to Houston 37-17 to go 1-12. They just, they were just ready to jump. I was like, guys, slow down. I was really surprised. They were just jumping off. They were just jumping ship immediately, and I was so surprised. I could easily put him above Doug Peterson because you have a rookie quarterback. If I went through every NFL team, bottom 5 talent would probably be the Texans, and what he's doing is phenomenal. It's funny because he's a defensive coach. So how much credit do I give him for CJ Stroud? But I think he deserves some credit. Which one? Dan Campbell. It wouldn't surprise me. Dan Campbell, like I said, halfway through the year. I think it's Sirianni personally, but if you told me Dan Campbell, I'm not hating that. Brad Holmes, executive of the year. I didn't do an executive of the year. I know a lot of fans like big talker players, but sometimes I think you have to have so one of the things about this is that how you build a team. Some teams work better with a lot of talkers. Some teams work better with a lot of talkers. I'm going old school here, but the 85 Bears, that whole front 7 talked trash. And McMahon, that 1 year, he talked trash, Deion Sanders. It was funny. I was actually told that on the field when he plays, he doesn't talk trash, but like off the field, he talked a lot of trash. I was told Michael Irvin talked a lot of trash. Irvin could back it up. I'm a huge Michael Irvin fan. Some teams talk a lot, some teams don't. Kansas City Chiefs, they're not a big trash talk team. They're really not. I've noticed Mahomes talks a lot more, but I don't think he's like a negative trash talker, and I've noticed he's becoming more vocal. But I think that's a good thing. But I don't think he's like a big talker, like you're talking about. I don't care for them, Perry. We started getting rid of them off their team. Talkers, and yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think Mahomes is. He's not really big on social media. Kelsey, big on social media, obviously. He does a lot of talking, but it's never like, trash talk. You know what I'm saying? Am I making sense? I feel like I'm kind of babbling here. I think Howie Roseman has the edge on that. Oh, God, that would, yeah. The trade for Jalen Carter was just genius, and then the way he was able to navigate. I mean, how much credit do I have to give him? Should I still be giving him credit for getting rid of Wentz and getting all that draft capital, and then banking on Jalen Hurts? I mean, but the trade for Jalen Carter was nothing short of genius. The Jag coach is developing T-Law. It might help him get you. I mean, so Trevor Lawrence was my pick for MVP, and as of right now, he's probably not even in the top 10. He could be, but I mean, I was shocked at how many Jacksonville Jaguar fans are jumping ship after 1 and 2, and I was like, it's week 3, and you guys went 4-7 last year to start the season. Why are you so, I don't get it. But I mean, they bounced back. I think San Francisco beats Jacksonville this year, but I mean, Jacksonville's going to win that division. And from there we'll see. But yeah, I mean, Peterson's number 3 in my coach of the year. Maybe even Brett Veach having assembled one of the top defenses in the NFL at the youngest snap-adjusted age and a huge free agent signings. Yeah, the Tranquil signing was genius. Amenahu's turning out good. Edwards is smart. And these were all – Drew Tranquil, I remember they signed into a 2-year, $8 million deal, and I didn't get it. But now it's looking like one of the smartest moves in football. Amenahu – I believe it's 2-year, $20 million, something like that. It looks high, and then some Chiefs fans are complaining missing 6 games. I wasn't worried about that at all, because I'm like, look, don't worry about that. Let's keep them fresh for the second half of the year, and that looks like a genius move. Mike Edwards, be honest, I like Edwards, but I like Byron Cook more, and that's a guy like that's a draft pick people are really overlooking, but Byron Cook looks like he's becoming a really good player. I get so excited because I'm an old school guy, so I love the Chiefs defense. I want to know what kind of dirty Rosman has on other teams. Still pisses me off. All these teams are helping out the Eagles. That trade was just silly. And I know what the Bears were doing. They wanted to fix the offensive line. They really liked that right tackle out of Tennessee. I'm drawing a blank on his name. And they wanted an extra draft pick, which they got. But, I mean, passing on Jalen Carter and then drafting 3 defensive tackles, it didn't make a lot of sense. But it's like me playing an offline Madden franchise and that other coach or GM. I know. I get it. I'm pretty sure it was a 2-year. Darnell, right? I'm pretty sure it was a 2-year, $8 million deal, Keys. If you don't mind, can you double check? I'm almost positive it was a 2-year, $8 million deal. I'm almost positive on that. Wouldn't be the first time I was wrong, though. Yeah, so Chicago really liked Darnell Wright. But I mean, as after 1 year, this looks silly. So the Jets, Raiders, Sunday night. Vegas opened up a 1.5 point home dog, now 1. People are putting action on the Raiders. I mean, I could see the Jets off of being really disappointed Monday night. And it is okay. All right. I thought it was a 2-year, $8 million deal, but when that looks genius. I get people being excited about the Antonio Pierce. If you watch my video, which I encourage you to do, I say I'm going to give you the same information I gave you on the video, and that is, if you have a bad offensive line, which the Raiders do, against a really good defensive line, what the Jets do, that's a matchup that usually favors the good defensive line. I mean, I have a bad offensive line, a rookie quarterback, and a great defensive line. And even though I want to pick the Raiders, because I'm pulling for Aiden O'Connell and Aiden Pierce, except when they play the Chiefs. Antonio Pierce. I can't get over it, man. So I got Jets winning a low scoring one, but people are betting on the Raiders. Not a lot. Same thing with the Monday Night Football. Denver at Buffalo opened up Buffalo 7.5. It's now 7. Buffalo had a tough loss Sunday night. Denver's on a bye. I'm really excited about this game because I want to see how Denver responds, because they beat the Chiefs for the first time since 1912. Then you get a bye. Now you get some health, and can you build on this, because the Bills are banged up, and I mean this is a game that Buffalo has more talent. They should win this game, but they're more banged up, and Denver's off of a bye in kind of unprecedented territory, because Denver wins this game, they're right back in the playoff hunt. They lose this game at 3-6. They're done for the year, right? I mean, you can sit here and go, well, no, they can win 8 straight. No, they're not winning 8 straight, and they know that. But at 4-5, they're done playing with Kansas City. They have some winnable games. At 3-6, they're done. At 4-5, it's possible. And I know it sounds kind of crazy, the difference between one game, but listen, in the AFC, there's going to be a team with 10 wins that doesn't make it in. That's why I say 3-6 and you're done. They could. It wouldn't surprise me, but Bufa told me that he predicted when I did my draft show that this was Belichick's last year. Now I'm hearing that Belichick could be fired, and I don't believe it, but I'm hearing more and more of it. So, when there's smoke, there's fire. It could happen. If I'm the Patriots, I would. Do the Raiders want to eat that much cap? Do the Raiders want to keep Jimmy G? I have no idea. I mean, you're talking about two teams that have things completely up in the air, because if I'm New England, this you have to ask, let's just say you're sold on Mac Jones. Do you bring back Jimmy G? Jimmy G was a guy that McDaniels loved. I don't know about Bill O'Brien. If I'm Bill O'Brien, I'm thinking to myself, who do you want to build your team around? Do you want to bring it around Mac Jones? You want to bring it around somebody else? Let's just say New England keeps their coaching staff, which is an iffy thing. Let's just say keep it intact. Let's just say they want to stick with Mac Jones. That's smart, because what you do then is you get one of those offensive line, which is your biggest hole. The defense comes back healthy. Then you go into next season, hey, playoffs or bust. If you're not convinced of Mac Jones, which I'm not, and you want to make a move for a quarterback, do you bring in Jimmy G to back up, and then you ship Mac Jones off? Can you ship Mac Jones off? Brings up some interesting situations. Personally, if you want to move on from Mac Jones and bring back Jimmy G, if you're sold on Mac Jones, I don't know. So it all revolves around Mac Jones because I'm not sold on him. But I want to see what the Patriots do because they're going to be a really interesting team to watch. And they're going to pick high. And there's going to be some good offensive linemen, and that's what they need. I don't know how much Roseman is a rich. So okay. Roseman is a risk taker. Key says he doesn't know. He doesn't stupidly second guess himself as much as other GMs. I think I don't know. I mean, I think rolling the dice on Jalen Hurts was risky, but because they had draft picks, he hedged his bet. So there's a term in the gambling community called hedging your bets. So instead of basically it just means don't put all your eggs in one basket. And that's what he did in the quarterback situation is they went after Wentz. Remember, they gave up a lot of draft capital for Carson Wentz. And when it looked like it wasn't going to work out, then Jalen Hurts, remember they drafted him in the second round. I was critical because I liked the value. I believe it was pick number 50. And because I was like, this is great value, but you got Carson Wentz, so how's this going to work? Well, it worked out because Wentz wasn't the guy. Now, remember, you got that draft capital. So here's the deal. If Jalen Hurts didn't pan out, then you draft your guy. Is it a risk? I think it's a big risk, but I like the way he did it by hedging his bets. Hopefully that made sense. Which teams do you think are wishing they made a contract with Lamar this offseason? Well, Green Bay is the number one. I mean, Jordan Love's not the answer. And it looks like the offense that they want to run, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the Raiders, but I don't think the McDaniels, Lamar Jackson situation would work out. But like Antonio Pierce, I don't even know who the offensive coordinator is with the Raiders now because they got rid of the general manager, offensive coordinator, and McDaniels. But hindsight, with Antonio Pierce, I think would love a guy like Lamar Jackson. But the number one team is Green Bay because I have no faith in Jordan Love. And it's kind of funny when I watch Packers offense. I watched it several times and I'm like, man, I mean, Lamar Jackson would kind of fit what they're trying to do. And I think you got to move on from Jordan Love. And you also have to find a hole for that offensive line. So if they sign Lamar Jackson, then in this year's draft, you get your left tackle. Of course, they wouldn't be picking as high with Lamar Jackson because there's some things in Green Bay I like. Remember, they drafted your boy. I don't remember how high you were on him. I'm very high on him, Lucas Van Ness. And they're building something in that front seven in Green Bay that could be really, really special. But they got fixed left tackle, and I think Jordan loves to swing and a miss. So I think Lamar Jackson, Green Bay just makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. How much fun would a guy like Lamar Jackson be with the Saints? That would be a lot of fun, but I don't see the contract. So no, I don't either, and that's going to be a big question because you have holes on the offensive line, and they're going to, as of right now, they're going to have a very high draft pick. So the mock draft I was telling you about earlier, they had Brock Bowers, the Georgia tight end, going to New England at 7, which I 100% believe will not happen. 100% believe will not happen. Yeah, I would have gone offensive lineman. I would have gone offensive line, but I think that he's going to be a really good player. I think that front seven could be really good, but you got to fix the offensive line, and I think you got to get a quarterback. So I think Robert Kraft is getting tired of losing, and he knows if he keeps losing, he will lose his money. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely, and I think that's why you're hearing the rumors. A couple years ago, they spent a record amount in free agency. It didn't pan out. Bill O'Brien, I'm telling you right now, wasn't cheap. I've heard this from multiple people on Twitter that Belichick loses, they're just going to move on. I don't buy it, but I'm seeing it from multiple credible sources, not just fanboys. My buddy Buffa predicted this would be Belichick's last season. So, yeah. I thought. I think the Raiders. Remember the Raiders? The Raiders drafted Tyree Wilson. I might have gone after Jalen Carter instead. They supposedly like Tyree Wilson, but he's nowhere close to Jalen Carter. Can you imagine inside outside? There was a lot of talk about Detroit taking Jalen Carter. Detroit traded down wisely, even though they reached in the first round. They still had an excellent draft. But yeah, I remember Jalen Carter. I didn't think he would go to 9. And then here I am looking at Chicago. I'm like, I can't believe this. You traded down and you can pick Jalen Carter instead of 1. You get him at 9. And I hear Bears trade. I'm like, who the hell are the Bears trading with? Eagles? No way. No. And maybe Green Bay could not sign Lamar because of cap and trying to deal A-Rod. The plan was for them to go with Jordan Love. But Keys asked which team you think wishes they would have gone with Lamar Jackson. It's definitely Green Bay, because I think Green Bay said, okay, we're going to move on from Aaron Rodgers. We got Jordan Love. This is the move. And it didn't work. It's just a swing and a miss in Green Bay. So you got to get your quarterback. Now, are they going to go into is Green Bay going to go into 2024 and say, you know what, Bacchiardi wasn't there. We got a bunch of young receivers, and remember they drafted 3 receivers and 2 tight ends. One of them got hurt, and then they kind of reached on one of them. I think the kid out of Michigan State they got in the second round. I don't think anybody had that in the second round. So are they saying, hey, look, once these players get established, we're going to get a new left tackle, and we're going to go ahead and move forward, because the front 7 could be special. They got some really good pieces in the secondary, and they like their coach. Okay, that's one way. Here's another thing. They let go of LaFleur. They get a guy, and they decide that we're going to draft their quarterback and try to fix the offensive line via free agency, or maybe somebody falls in the second round. It'll be hard to say. At 10, the fiscal's very. Oh yeah. I mean, seriously, the fact that Chicago. I mean, I get the Chicago logic, but I mean, a lot of it's hindsight. But it was just crazy. But I remember they got Nolan Smith, who hasn't played much, but he's going to be really good. They got him at 30, and Nolan Smith could have easily gone top 10. He was a guy, I don't know how he went down. And he's not playing much, but in a couple of years from now, we're going to be talking about Nolan Smith being a double-digit sack guy. He's going to be really special. Kenzie drafted a quarterback at 10 that many people thought was too risky and unpolished. I said that. I like Trubisky better. I wasn't sold on Watson, but I did like Trubisky a lot more. And Chicago took him at 2. Thank God. I think Pats fans better get used to years of losing. I said after they won their Super Bowl against the Rams that the dynasty was done. I thought that Mac Jones, after that strong rookie season, was going to get them back to being competitive, and it hasn't worked out. New England's going to be an interesting team. I think they could move on from Belichick. If they do, I think it'll be after the year. But if you keep them and you keep Mac Jones, you fix the offensive line, the defense is really good. the defense is really good. So it's something to think about. Yeah, I know. My chest is bothering me. My throat's a little sore. I got 2 bottles of water. I drank one. I'm halfway through the other. I'm pretty much done. I talked about everything I wanted to talk about. So I've said this so many times. Perry brings up a good point, though. Andy Reid was a guy that could develop Mahomes. Mahomes is a McNabb type of quarterback. More than any other position, you need external factors to really help develop your quarterback. There's a guy by the name of Drew Lock, went to the same high school I went to. He was drafted in the 2nd round by the Denver Broncos. During the offseason, before they drafted Drew Lock, a lot of people thought would go in round 1. He slid in round 2, so Denver traded up and drafted him. They gave Drew Flacco a lot of money in Denver. I have no idea why. And Denver fans were excited. They're like, hey, this guy won a Super Bowl. We got our quarterback. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. But, whatever. Drew Lock comes to Denver, and the first thing they asked Joe Flacco, hey, how are you going to treat Drew Lock? He goes, it's not my job to do anything with him. And he was a complete dick to him. Patrick Mahomes comes to Kansas City. Alex Smith calls him immediately, welcomes him to Kansas City, walks him through his offseason program, helps him out with the playbook. The smartest thing in the world, I thought, and when I really believed that, this is going to sound nuts, but when I started to believe in Patrick Mahomes was 3 weeks after being drafted. He's the 3rd most popular pitcher, and the 3rd most popular person in the picture is him and Travis Kelce and one other Chiefs player were at a Royals game. So what did he do? He got together with Travis Kelce, and they already built a friendship. And it was, I forget the other Chiefs player. It wasn't Alex Smith, but it was funny. Mahomes is the 3rd most popular. Mahomes can't do that today. Mahomes probably can't just go out with Travis Kelce and go catch a Royals game. He's actually a minority owner of the Royals, but Alex Smith welcomed him, became close friends with Travis Kelce. And then he got to sit for a year. And I think that's key. CJ Stroud's having a great season, but he had to start right away. I think Anthony Richardson, him getting hurt is going to be key in his development, because I really think that what you should do is if a guy like Anthony Richardson, I think he needs to sit for a year. Now, I'm curious how he's handling it, because here's a 21-year-old kid. There were some questions about his maturity. Is Gardner Minshew working with him or not? I mean, there's a lot of questions. Mahomes was like the perfect storm. I think Drew Lock is better than several quarterbacks that are playing in the NFL right now, but I think due to circumstances, he didn't get his shot. If you put Drew Lock in the situation Patrick Mahomes is in, would he be an NFL MVP? No. Would the Chiefs have won, double-digit games every year he's been here? Yeah, I firmly believe that. Would they have won a Super Bowl? Maybe, maybe not. It's all about circumstances. The Bryce Young situation in Carolina, that's a disaster. They got left tackle on Nkwonu, who I loved coming out of the draft. He hasn't really panned out. Could be a work in progress. You get rid of your number 1 receiver, and then your defense shits the bed. I don't even know if that's ever going to work out. CJ Stroud, on the other hand, doesn't have a lot of talent surrounding him. The offensive line's good. They need to add some talent in that receiver room. The defense isn't bad, but yeah. Don't draft quarterbacks with the last name of Jones or Corey. I think if I think if Michigan, Tamarinik had Shannon or Reed as a coach, he could have been above average or a good tier 2. Who is that? Mitch Tamarinik? had Shannon or Reed. I'm trying to think who Mitch Tamarinik. I'm I have no idea who that is. I feel like I should, but I don't know those. So Ricky Stanzi, I don't get the story behind Ricky Stanzi because I loved him. So his junior season, he was called Amira Stanzi. They won all these games, and he looked like he was going to be a good player. And then he came back to Iowa, didn't have that good of a year. Chiefs drafted him, I think, in the 5th round. And I never understood it because the Chiefs just had this garbage team, and he just never got any. The Chiefs had no interest in playing the guy, and there was some sports media, but the coaching staff was just adamant that, like, I don't know. I'm assuming Keys. I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm assuming that the guy just, like, he was a good player in college and just didn't want to play in the NFL or just didn't like it or whatever. But I never understood why he never got a chance because, like, there was nothing. He was part of that 2-14 team and never even took a snap. It was weird. Remember they got Brady Quinn, the guy from Denver, and I was like, why not just throw the guy in there? Who cares? I don't know. Who's someone's computer model popped out as the next Tom Brady and then never got to start? Mitch T draft by the Bears. Oh, Trubisky. Yeah, it's Kyle. Trubisky. Yeah. I'm 100%. Yeah. So I think in Kansas City he would have been good. It was a terrible situation because they had Matt Nagy, and here's what happened. He went to the Pro Bowl, but I watched that, and here was the deal. Matt Nagy was trying to run that complex Chiefs offense, and Trubisky just looked lost. And I really think if they would have dumbed things down, it would have worked. Yeah, Orton just wanted to be a backup quarterback. Brady Quinn was not. I remember my buddy had such a man crush on Brady Quinn, and I tried telling him, like, this dude's not going to be good in the NFL. Like, he's not. And he was one of those guys that he had to wait till the receiver broke on his routes to throw the ball. But I will say this though, Brady Quinn is doing an A+ job on TV. He's doing an A+ job on TV. I like Brady Quinn on TV. I also like Matt Leinart on TV. I saw a Browns fan talking to a Chiefs fan saying we didn't know misery. The Chiefs fan responded about how we picked Brady Quinn after the Browns fan just to prove up. Dude, the 90s were like awesome. The Chiefs won more games in the 90s than any other team. But they kept on losing in the playoffs in brutal fashion. And I hate this, and I get it, Brown. I was at Red Rocket 80. The year Sipe won MVP, throws a pick against the Raiders, kicking a short field goal. But it was like -10. The fumble, the drive, I get it. I was out there when they lost 10-7 in 95. It was actually January 96. That was just so bad because the Colts had Jim Harbaugh as their quarterback. Marshall Faulk, their best player, was injured. The Chiefs missed 3 short field goals. 43 was the longest. The other 2 were inside 40. They make any one of those field goals, they win the game. I know the 10-7, you're going to say, dude, trust me. Gannon came in late, led them downfield. Didn't work out. Maybe the Browns got it, but Chiefs fans went through hell. Chiefs fans went through hell. It was just brutal. But yeah, I get Browns fans saying this. Perry, absolutely. He was not built for the NFL. I knew it. I knew it. My buddy loved him. My buddy got a Browns Brady Quinn jersey, and I'm like, dude, I'm telling you right now, it's not going to work. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to work. So, guys, it's been about 3 hours. My throat is bothering me. I think I'm just going to call it the night. But listen, thank you so much for tuning in, staying with me for as long as you did. My picks video, please check it out if you haven't already. I'm going to not do any games this weekend, but I'll be back Tuesday. Keys is going to join me and One Pride. We're going to go after power rankings, and we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. It's going to be a great show Tuesday, so I encourage you to join in. One Pride and Keys, we're going to have a great threesome. It's going to be a fantastic threesome, so I encourage you to join in. I will also have my picks video released. I was late this week. I released it late this week. It should be at noon on Tuesday. So please check it out. And please check out my picks video. I give you the winner, score prediction, and who covers, who doesn't. I've been really good against the spread, but I misfired against Chicago. But there's no way I would take Chicago to cover 3.5. I would have gone for 3. So I picked Chicago to win. I had them covering 3.5. So, but the last 2 weeks I've been really good against the spread. If you have any questions about fantasy, sports betting, prop bets, all my social media links are listed below. However, I probably won't look at my phone Saturday up to Saturday night, like around midnight. Hit me up, but if you hit me up Sunday morning, I probably won't get back a hold of you. But all my social media links are listed below. If you have any questions, you need any advice, anything, just hit me up. And if you do it Saturday before midnight, I'll get back to you. So Kansas City, oh God, man, they had the defense from hell. The Bills' 4 Super Bowls was brutal. Rich Gannon just went to the right place at the right time. You know, it's funny, God, if he would have been the starter, the Chiefs might have won the Super Bowl here. Had some good years with the Raiders too. But yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. I'll see everybody back Tuesday. Please check out my picks video Tuesday at noon when it comes out. In the link below, I have a link to my Week 10 picks video. Please check that out. Everybody have a good weekend.